fantastic. This is GT racing right now.
He's got traction, he's going around the outside of both of them! Maloney!
Oh, he's taken Anderson! Anderson's up to him!
Oh my God! Big crash! Oh my goodness, half the field's going to get rolled!
Six very close. These guys are want to make their way through the field very quickly.
Oh, here we go! Oh no!
That's massive! This is it! This is over! I can't believe this! Oh my God!
God, what?
Welcome one and welcome all to SimSpeed TV one last time in the Virtual Racing School V8SCOPS support series presented by RacingSims.co.nz. We're at Road America for the final round of the V8SCOPS season, and it's one more whirl for both the Flat Sixes and the V8s. We've got two titles to decide tonight over two 22-lap races in two categories, and we're going to bring it all to you live here on SimSpeed TV, as per usual, with myself, Reese Gardner, and Jay Kennedy alongside me in the commentary box for this final round. Jay, we're in the Flat Sixes at the moment. Everyone's just in the qualifying session right now, and it's all about whether or not Thomas Hinds can protect his championship lead from Riley Preston.
Yeah, and he doesn't have to do too much to actually seal the crown. He's got to finish in the top 13, which basically means he has to finish the race, essentially, to win the championship. So it's very, very simple mathematically for him to win the championship, but we've seen strange things happen in this championship throughout. So saying that it's as easy as just getting a top 10 or top 13, while it sounds very, very simple, it may not prove to be as simple as that.
Yeah, especially at a track like this one, Road America. What a fantastic circuit this is. One of the most historic racing facilities in the United States, built in 1955 to replace the old Elkhart Lake road racing circuits that used the public roads around the locality of Elkhart Lake in Wisconsin. This place is pretty much America's Monza. It's got tons of long straights, heavy braking zones into tight corners. No chicanes here, but still plenty of places where you have to nail the throttle, nail your steering in order to carry momentum down those monumental straights.
Yeah, and the kink is probably one of the most underrated or least thought of corners at the track. You think about the aggressiveness of braking into turn one, how turn three, what we in Australia would call turn two, but they call turn three, how much that closes up. It feels like it's a 90-degree corner, and then it just continues on. Turn 5, then up the hill at turn 6, and you got turn 7 through the Hurry Downs, and then through the Carousel. But then you get to the kink, and before you know it, things get really, really difficult. And if you're in a battle pack, getting yourself through there can prove to be very, very crucial. If you're the lead car and don't get through well, you're going to be passed, no doubt, coming into Canada corner. If you are behind and trying to be aggressive, you don't want to be too aggressive and find yourself hitting the wall on the outside.
Exactly right. This is a very old school facility, and slipstream is paramount here with those long straights. So qualifying at the moment for the flat sixes. We know the championship situation. Thomas Hinz has to finish P13, but this guy, Riley Preston, is currently topping the qualifying session a full second ahead of Daniel Yaman in the number 85. Just coming through the hurry down section now. This is going to be an interesting passing opportunity, this corner here at turn 8, coming into the carousel. And it's all about trying to keep the momentum up through this right-hander as well. Riley Preston, of course, very familiar with this car, with this track, exactly what he needs to do to get a fast time around here, as his P1 shows.
Yeah, he's been really, really good with his form throughout the season. Just hasn't been able to finish a couple of rounds off, and Hinzy's just had a little bit more of a consistent season. And when we put the championship standings up, he is still mathematically able to win the championship, as is Benjamin Faulkner, but Hinzy just has to make it to half race distance, finish in the top 13, and he wins the championship. We've got 18 cars out there, so it's not sealed, but it pretty much is at this point with no drop rounds in this series. So it means that it's pretty much Riley Preston win the race. It has to have everything else fall into his hands, but you look back down the field, that little battle for 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, that's very, very tight in that little area there.
Absolutely it is. Yaman, Edwards, Moore and Flock. Very close separation there between those guys. And Daniel Yaman currently second in qualifying, so he'll be on for a good result, and there's every chance that he'll be able to protect that 4th place from those pursuing guys. We'll have to wait and see, though. And, of course, Mark Noble, Cameron Dance and Brett Hender rounding out the rest of the top 10 here.
Sorry for the little typo in that one.
Yes, I was going to say, shouldn't Cam be higher with that amount of points?
Swap the 1 and the 6 around and it was the right numbers.
Right,
just dyslexic fingers.
Fair enough. Well, unfortunately, Brett Hender is not going to be able to defend that 10th place very well, considering he's not here. But Fusion Sim Racing does have some representation here in the form of Scott Stevens tonight. And making his way towards the end of a lap now, Scotty's currently in 9th place, looking to rep the team as they have in the latter half of this V8SCOPS support season. Time that he's currently on, a 2:10.157. He needs upwards of 6/10 if he wants to go past Aaron Russell in the standings. And he might be on the way to doing that. 2:09.647. Yeah, that brings him closer to Aaron Russell, but not quite. Of course, Aaron, a driver that we're both familiar with, Jay. We were former teammates with him, and he, of course, is a real-life racer.
Well, he was. He hasn't raced for a little while. He, of course...
Once you are, you always will be.
True, he's done more than us. Of course, he's raced in 2 Bathurst 1000s, or 3 Bathurst 1000s, of course, with Andre Heimgartner not that long ago. Of course, also raced as part of the Plus Fitness team in Supercars and Super 2, with the family team as well, and of course the kart business in Newcastle. Very, very active in the sim as well. As I tell you what, how's that for consistency from Riley Preston?
Yeah,
just 5/1000ths off his previous best lap.
Yeah, the measure of consistency right now for Riley Preston. Very interested to see what he can do in terms of race pace, if his qualifying pace is anything to go by. Anthony Green in the number 308. He's currently 12th, second last of the drivers to set a time, but with a 2:10.4, that's a good improvement. That's going to put him up to P11, but only 400ths ahead of Sam Stride there.
Much of a gap between them at the moment. A few drivers continuing on for another lap. Dan Yaman is on a flyer at the moment, and we'll see how he can do with this lap. Been very, very consistent in his form since he's joined the championship halfway through. Considering how late in the championship he joined, to see him in position number 4 in the championship is pretty outstanding. If he had been able to do a full championship run, I've got no doubt that we would see him fighting with Preston and Hinz for the championship.
I'd agree with you there. He's one of the drivers, of course, on our Zoom feed tonight. You'll be able to see exactly what goes on in the driver's seat for Mr. Yaman. And I'd say that his season run has been pretty fantastic considering the limited amount of rounds he's done. I think back to when we raced at Donington when he took that shock victory in race 2. He hasn't quite been able to touch the heights of that since, but he has always been there or thereabouts, challenging Riley Preston, Cameron Dance, and Thomas Hinz. 207.4 for him. That's going to be an improvement, basically halves the gap to Riley Preston. Still not quite enough for pole, though.
No, it's not quite there, but I mean, any improvement's a good start, and the important part of that is it puts a bit more of a gap between he and Hinz as Cameron Dance slots himself into position number 3, and he's also just broken the cardinal rule of V8SCOPS, the no escape rule. He's done for qualifying because I think he just forgot, and he's actually jumped out of his sim as well. So he's going to finish his qualifying. He's going to finish no better than P3, but he'll be happy if that's his final spot as Benjamin Faulkner. I don't think he's made the corner there. Don't escape or you'll be done. I think he's just remembered.
Yes. It's almost instinctive, you know, if you're a sim racer and you spin off or have a crash, you immediately reach for your keyboard, but you can't afford to do that in this series. If you end up escaping in qualifying, then that is your session done. Trying to reflect real-life racing as much as possible as we do in V8SCOPS. So Aaron Russell brings it into the pits. He was carrying a bit of damage there, and I get the feeling we're about to see why.
Yep, coming into Canada corner. Just outbroke himself here. He's on for a personal best lap as well. He would have got ahead of Mark Noble and Ashley Lear. But just on exit here, just runs a little bit wide. Flips the dirt. I tell you what, that was the slightest touch, but it was enough to propel the car around. And he probably won't make it back out for another lap because he's still in the pits getting damage fixed. Only 2 minutes left on the clock. He may be done.
Yeah, maybe. Or, with a lap time of 2:06, 2:07 to work with, and just exiting the pits now, as you see, he is not going to be able to make it round in time to start another lap here. Reese Harnell, though, currently on a lap himself, and that's just coming out of turn 3 there onto the back straight. And one of these sweeps down the straight is technically known as turn 4 on the track.
It's about
map.
here somewhere, isn't it?
Roundabout. And then there's the braking zone for turn 5. You've got to get on the brakes a bit earlier than you think. You can push so hard, you can even run over the curb on the outside there on entry, also on exit, as you can see. But it is a very difficult turn to get right. And it's one of those places where your lap can be made or broken. Also that corner, evidently, as Reese Harnell has just found out, as the track levels out when you come over to the top of the hill. The front end, of course, goes light, and you have to try and guide your car through there. Be careful that the rear doesn't break free either, and that's what happened to him.
I'm still so confused by American racetrack corner numbers. We've got turn 2, which is nothing, turn 4, which is nothing, and then you've got tracks like Road Atlanta, which you've got turn 8 and 9, which are kinks in a straight, and then you've got a chicane, which is A and B.
Yeah.
Doesn't make any sense, but anyway.
Both known as turn 10.
Yeah.
And apparently the S's at Road Atlanta don't count as a corner.
No. I think it actually, in saying that, I do know that it is linked to the flag marshal stands as opposed to the actual corner numbers themselves. So I do understand why they do it that way, but it's still...
I think back to the No Name Straight at Lime Rock Park, which is basically a sweep to the right and the left before a right-hander. Well, the checkered flag flying in qualifying, and coming up then to the end of a lap is Reese Harnell, and that's not going to count, obviously. Given his off-track excursion earlier on in the lap, he'll have no further chances to improve on his time. Riley Preston, though, may just be able to. We've got plenty of time left for drivers already on a lap to finish what they started, but does Preston really need to improve here? I mean, I don't think he's going to after that little whoops-a-daisy moment, but he's still 4 tenths ahead of everyone else. He's got pole position in the bag now. He's the only car on track.
And these sector times actually aren't too bad when you compare him to what other drivers are doing. So although he's got, 5.5 tenths on the rest of the field, his sectors on this lap, that confirms that he's not going to improve. But his sectors up to that point were all equal to Dan Yaman's best lap. That's how good the lap still was pace-wise, even with the whoopsies. But Preston He's been in a class of his own in this qualifying session, and Thomas Hinz, probably okay and comfortable with sitting position number 4. He's not too stressed about how it's going to play out.
Yeah, I wouldn't be either. If you're in that kind of position where all you need to do is finish in the top 13 and you've got the pace to fight for top 5s and podiums, it's certainly the best place possible for Thomas Hinz to be. He's just got to make sure to stay out of trouble tonight. Even though there are only 19 cars in this session, still every chance that they'll be coming together on the first lap, and you do not want to be back in the pack when that happens. So, qualifying is now over. We can go through the starting grid. It is Riley Preston and Daniel Yaman who are your front row. Cameron Dance and championship leader Thomas Hinz start on the second row. Luke Swan and Ben keep each other company on the 5th row with Isaac Edwards and Anthony J. Green, 11th and 12th. 13th place is going to be Sam Stride, Brett O'Keefe, the last car to set a time in that session. And then we got Sebastian Flock, Simon Mizomo, and Reese Harnell, all in there. Race control is going to be taken up by Ben Christensen and Henry King. And of course, Henry King, one of the drivers, also fighting for a title tonight, but in the V8s. We'll be able to see him in action a bit later on. So, looks like we're in the race session now, Jay, and one big thing about Road America is the run to turn 1. All of these drivers will be looking to give each other plenty of space, I would say, on the run into that very open corner.
Lap race with a pit stop for tyres.
Yes, and you must change all 4 tyres in order to complete that compulsory pit stop requirement. So, there we are. Set in stone on the bottom left of your screen, and the pit window is very wide. Basically, all laps except the first 2 and the final 2, you can come in and complete that stop. So plenty of options here for strategy, for potentially undercutting a rival. But with how long the tyres tend to last in these Porsches, certainly there's probably not going to be a huge amount of difference made versus, pitting 1 lap earlier than your rival, but can certainly make a difference with the amount of speed you carry down these straights and how slow the pit lane is in comparison to everything else.
I've heard from a lot of drivers that they're thinking pit as early as you can because, as you said, there's not a huge drop-off of tyres, so you're better off getting it done early, and then while the field's bunched up around you, then you have a better opportunity of undercutting. So we'll see. Riley Preston starting from pit lane, interestingly, as we get ready to go. Green flag flies. We are racing.
Yeah, an awful lot of wheel spin back in the field. We've got a coming together in the midfield there. It looked like a very bad start for one of our drivers, and plenty of them spun at the start-finish line. Anthony Green, Mark Noble, Sebastian Flock struggling to get going there. Trying their best to spin things around, but up the front, things are going to continue. Oh, that looks like some bad damage there. And no safety car so far. We're going to get a replay of that. Let's dissect this, Jay.
Yep, so Mark Noble in the pink and black car. You've got Anthony Green. That's Aaron Russell coming up the inside, and looks like that Lear that sort of moved over a little bit and squeezed Russell, and then big chain reaction in behind, and there'll be quite a few disappointed drivers with how that's played out.
Yeah, not least Scott Stevens, who actually tried to back out of that incident when he saw it happening in front of him and got rear-ended for his troubles. So a few drivers less than satisfied with how things have gone so far on the first lap here at Road America, but Daniel Yaman will be very happy with the lead in hand. Cameron Dance second, Thomas Hinz in third, exactly where he needs to be to take the title. And in terms of Riley Preston, he's managed to make it out on track. He's currently fighting for P7 thanks to that incident on the start-finish line. He has been able to mix it with the field right away.
Reese Harnell is actually stopped. He's actually towed it back to the pit lane, so they've been able to recover his car. So not the end of the championship that he would have liked.
All Cameron Dance Oh, Cameron Dance going off at Canada Corner there. That lets Thomas Hinds by for second, and Luke Swan is promoted into the podium positions. So I think basically regular outbraking manoeuvre there from Cameron Dance, except he outbraked himself.
Yeah, it's not usually the way to do it, is it? You need to outbrake someone else, and Benjamin Faulkner not quite able to take advantage, and Hinsey will be absolutely loving that. Got a free position without having to battle for it. Aaron Russell side by side here with Riley Preston, and I don't think he's going to be able to hold on for this spot. That's going to be all too easy for Riley Preston. What a drive already, starting in the pits, and he's already fighting. He's only 3.5 seconds off the lead.
Yeah, this is a pretty fantastic drive from Preston so far. I'm wondering if he just decided to do this for the challenge of it, because he didn't need to start from the pit lane. In fact, it would have been best for his potential championship run if he kept the lead and held on to it for as long as possible and hoped something happened to Hinds. But this is the route he's decided to take, and you can see him pulling away. He is in the draft of Benjamin Faulkner, and he's going to go for a move here at turn 5. Up the inside, you'll see Faulkner on the left. There we go. There's Riley Preston up another position into P5.
Nice simple move in the end, and he's now got Cameron Dance ahead trying to get that spot. Good job from Preston now, only 3.2 seconds back, so he's closing in very, very quick. Pit window opens at the end of this lap as well, so we could see a flurry in the pit lane with drivers thinking might as well come in as Sebastian Flock off the circuit.
Oh.
And this looks terminal.
Yeah, that does. He's not moving. There's plenty of heavy damage to the front of his car there. The safety car has been called. I've gone back to see what's happened here to Sebastian. It's a bit unclear.
I think his engine's popped from the start.
Potentially. We'll listen.
Stopped.
I think he's just gone for a bit of a slide there, and maybe just decided that he has too much damage to continue, pretty much.
Potentially. So, pit lanes are open, safety cars out, no surprise, every single car in the field is going to come in here.
Yeah, there we go. No surprise whatsoever, so it's going to be an out-and-out race between our drivers here.
Isaac
No
Edwards
green
has stayed out. It's a surprise. I'm sure at the moment he's thinking it's the right move, but I'll give it another 18 laps before he decides that was a bad ploy. See who gets the win in the race off pit road.
Have a look at that flurry of activity there as everyone jumps in up on the jacks to take their requisite 4 tyres. I'm unsure exactly how long a set of 4 tyres takes in the Porsche 911, but considering how they came in, I think these pit stops are going to be defined by whether or not you're able to hit your marks in your box. We've got plenty of cars out now.
Interesting, Riley Preston.
Oh, yeah.
It took a long time before he went up on the jack, so I think he's taken fuel by mistake. Off goes Yaman, then it's Hinds, Swan and Dance, and notice no Preston in that group. He's still up on the jacks.
Yeah, that's interesting to see there from Riley Preston. Might be a mistake. Actually, you know what? I'm gonna do some wild theorizing here. Perhaps he still had qualifying fuel in his car when he initially went to take to the grid, and then he had to go back, but unfortunately didn't have time to get back onto the grid. That's just a little bit of speculation from me. It's entirely likely that he just decided to start from the pits because he wanted to, but, you know, I guess it's a commentator's job to dribble a bit.
If you're good enough that you can start from the pits and still get yourself in a good spot, why not do it? Especially when that's not Riley Preston, that's Isaac Edwards. Got a commanding little lead over the rest of the field right now, but it means nothing because he still has to pit and the rest of the field will close in very, very quickly. But Isaac will enjoy the little bit of TV time for the lead of the race. Don't think it'll last too long because Yaman, Hinds, Swan, Dance, all very, very quick.
In fact, there they are as they come into the background of the frame. So the safety car being driven by Ben Christensen. And flashing the lights, of course, it means that the safety car is going to be staying out for another lap after this, I would presume. Means that there's going to be a bit less time for the drivers to make their moves, with a couple less laps worth of racing ready to go. So does Isaac decide to come into the pits here behind the safety car, or does he elect to stay out? Either way, he's going to be going to the back of the field. What would you do?
Well, if he didn't pit the previous lap, there's no point pitting now. He might as well try and pull a gap on the guys that he's going to end up battling with later
Safety
on in the
car
race.
going in?
No, it doesn't look like it. It would have pulled away by now.
Mm.
Big thanks also to Racing Sims for their support of this series throughout the year. It's been awesome to have them on board. Big thanks to the entire crew behind the scenes that have organised this series as well. It's been a big series. Big ask to run it, and we can confirm that the support series will be back next year. In what format, with what cars, we don't know yet, but it will be back Friday nights of V8SCOPS weekends next year, which is very exciting.
It is very exciting. I'll wait with bated breath to see what the cars and formats are, and who knows, maybe like with the Trucking Legends this year, I might jump in and race myself in one of the series, of course, while still maintaining my commentary commitments here. Certainly going to be a fun year, 2022. 2021 has been nothing short of immense, has it? I mean, this is probably the biggest single undertaking of any SCOPS season, apart from the initial setup of the series back in 2014. Not only are the crew at Oceanic Sim Racing having to deal with sorting out 2 fields of 40 cars for V8SCOPS at most rounds, at the very least, but also they've had to do all of the administration and setup work for series like this. The Flat Sixes, the V8s, and the Trucking Legends, all with their own formats and certain foibles that the drivers have to navigate. It's certainly been quite a fun year, has 2021, and we shall be going from strength to strength. Of course, we do have to thank Racing Sims for that, as you say, Jay. Yeah,
and also shout out to Henry King for his hard work behind the scenes of getting things set up, getting the ball rolling with it, and making sure that we have some exciting racing each and every week, setting up the servers and making sure drivers know what's going on, and making sure we've got a bit of an idea on what's going on as well. It's been really fun having this on Friday nights of V8SCOPS weekend, and it's made V8SCOPS weekends feel a whole lot more like a full race weekend, hasn't it? I mean, you think back to Bathurst, that was one of the most amazing weekends of sim racing we've ever had.
Yeah, agreed. It's always good when a sim racing series feels like it can be taking place in the real world, and that's part of the reason why V8SCOPS has been set up the way it is. You know, with 15 or 16 rounds spread out over the course of a whole year, and with these support categories on the Friday beforehand. It's been a great experience for all of us. Certainly for the drivers as well. The racing has been some of the most intense we've ever seen. Well, the pace car, now that the field is back in order, should be coming in at the end of this lap. And that means that as things stand, Isaac Edwards will lead them away. And there we go. On the power for Ben Christensen. Away he pulls. The field will form under the control of Isaac Edwards, who maintains a speed of 100 kilometers an hour. And he will maintain that until out of the final turn.
Just noticed the damage to the front of Isaac Edwards' car, which makes it even more surprising that he didn't jump into the pits under the safety car there. So I'm sure he'll be ruining that when he sees Dan Yaman coming up. No doubt to pass him into turn 1, because the straight line speed won't be there for Isaac with the damage to the front. We'll see when he decides to pull away. Interesting that Hinzy's decided, I'm just going to sit back a tiny little bit, make sure I don't get involved in an incident, because he does not want to get involved in a crash. If he does, that could potentially mean championship over as we go green.
And it's Isaac Edwards who leads the way across the line to start lap 5 of 22. Daniel Yaman wasting no time getting in the draft, getting alongside ahead before they get to the braking zone. Some more side-by-side back in the field. Benjamin Faulkner and Simon Mizomo into turn 1. Scott Stevens going a bit too hard into the corner there and off into the gravel trap for the Fusion Sim Racing driver. He glances off the wall, just avoids collecting Mark Noble on the exit. So unfortunate there for Scotty. I think might have just missed his braking point in the kerfuffle. Anthony Green also in the gravel trap at turn 1. So not the best of restarts for 2 of our drivers. Ashley Lear going into the pit lane, and Cameron Dance now by Isaac Edwards, as well as Luke Swan and Thomas Hinds.
Aaron Russell very, very deep into turn 5, trying to potentially make a move up into turn 6 up the hill, but not quite close enough. And I'll tell you what, the battle for second is getting a little bit spicy, and Hindsy will be a little bit concerned that the guys behind him, that being Luke Swan and Cameron Dance, are racing as hard as they are right now, because if they come together with an out-braking move, he's vulnerable to that. So he's going to be very, very concerned. He's probably looking to start to pull away from those guys and hoping that they fight a little bit more aggressively, but not that aggressive that they miss their braking point.
Yeah, a gap of about a second, probably 2 seconds, would put him in the safer zone. Oh, Luke Swan going off at the kink. Oh, that's one place where you do not want that to happen. Fortunately, he's managed to keep it out of the wall, but he does lose 3rd place to Cameron Dance, who makes his way through into Canada Corner. Hopefully, the drivers will be able to minimise those mistakes for now. So everyone bar Isaac Edwards has completed their mandatory pit stop, and it's all out racing to the end here. They're looking to gain as many positions as they can on this first lap, then settle into a rhythm and attempt to stake their claim for the position as the tyres eventually drop off.
Look at the gap that Yaman's already pulled as well, 1.5 seconds over Hinds. And Isaac Edwards back into 6th position, and it's about to be 7th, because here comes Mizomo looking to make a move. Through he goes, and Riley Preston, who did take a full tank of fuel at the pit stop, is now up ahead because Aaron Russell's just made a mistake and he's going to lose his spot back behind Mizomo and Preston. So Russell went from 7th to 6th to 5th, back to 7th, all within the space of about 4 corners.
Yeah, it looked like the rear end broke free into turn 1. He's in the draft of Riley Preston, but I don't know if he's going to be brave enough to make a move here as they come back down to turn 5. Preston goes defensive anyway, but leaves Russell the room, and he does not go for the move. I think well aware of the pace difference between the 27 and the 3 as things stand. Simon Mizomo struggling to hook up the apex just ahead of Riley Preston. He's been struggling a little bit here off the restart just to find a bit of consistency and keep himself in the fight for these top 5 positions. You see just there, he was pushing a bit too hard out of the hurry downs as well. Preston rounding him up inch by inch and corner by corner.
Mizomo's last ever race for TechSense Fitstyle Motorsport as well, right here. So, the last weekend with the team. He will be leaving the team and joining Drop Bear after this. So Mizomo making moves, and he's excited and disappointed that he's leaving at the same time. So be interesting to see what happens as Preston up the inside, and here comes Aaron Russell as well. That's deep from Russell,
no.
And there's contact.
Oh man.
Oh, and Isaac Edwards in 2.
Yeah, and Benjamin Faulkner. That's a 4-car pile-up, and Simon Mizomo, of course, none too happy with how that move went down.
Yep, and Aaron Russell has broken the golden rule. He's escaped from the race, so he'll get in trouble for race control, even if there was a potential penalty hanging over his head from the start anyway. So not a good night for Aaron Russell in his support series. Oh, we can't say debut because, of course, he raced a few races in the Legend, but first race in the flat sixes. As we have another look up the inside, way too deep. But I'm interested to see what happened here. Well, so Faulkner made contact with Russell when he was around, but Isaac Edwards, that was strange from him.
Yeah, it was. Looked like, well, he...
Is he just distracted by what happened and didn't know where to go?
I think so. Maybe also distracted by Benjamin Faulkner in his mirror as he was moving around a bit. And Isaac did the right thing there. He went for the gravel trap and wide to try and avoid the spinning cars, but unfortunately, Simon Mizomo had roughly the same trajectory. So Edwards now back into the pits. We've also got, of course, Aaron Russell in there, Ashley Lear stationary, and Simon Mizomo has disconnected from the server. So a very unfortunate end to Mez's time at Fitzstein Motorsport.
Well, they've got one more race to go in the V8, so I'm sure that's why he's decided to wrap up the race. He's no point finishing back with the damaged car. He'll go and warm up and get ready for the V8 race coming up in 15 laps time, which I'm looking forward to. That's going to be very, very interesting. A little bit closer championship fight than we've got here. Cameron Dance. That is not the preferred racing line out of the dirt.
No way. You know, I marvel that modern racing can still take place on this track with corners like that, and the fact that there's barely any margin between the track, the grass, and the wall. Here it is on board, coming out of the carousel. So important to get the exit right here because you want to carry as much speed through the kink as possible. You got a whole other straight after it to deal with. Yeah, I think just turning in a bit too early there.
He just stayed in the throttle the whole time too. Didn't care.
Yeah. Well, Cameron Dance obviously confident in his car behaviour to the point where he can do that. As things stand, though, he's still losing time to Riley Preston, lap by lap. Of course, with the mistake, Dance's last lap was a 2:09.496, but Riley Preston running pretty much a 2:08 dead. He's managed to hold on to some fantastic race pace. No one's been able to get close to him. Yaman and Hins are running mid-2:08s.
That lap just there, Preston flying. 7.999 from him. But the gap between Dance and Preston, that is the closest battle on track. Isaac Edwards, no surprise to see that he's a long way back after his pit stop, back in 11th, but he's 40 plus seconds behind the next car. So the strategy around pitting or not pitting under caution was a bizarre one anyway, but now it's showing why it is such an interesting but probably not smart strategy call. He's going to struggle to even gain another spot out on track with how far of a gap he's got to the next car.
Yeah, and definitely the decision not to pit under the safety car has a lot to do with that, but let's also take into account the time he spent stationary after that contact with Cameron Dance and the damage he sustained. He would have had to get some of that repaired while he was in the pits as well. Scott Stevens and Benjamin Faulkner, then the battle for what is now 8th place. Scott Stevens and Benjamin Faulkner, they both had off-track excursions so far in this race, but still fighting for positions in the top 10, and goodness me, they're pushing just as hard. Scott, unfortunately, losing momentum out of the kink thanks to that. Faulkner going to come alongside him into Canada corner, gives him the room, but has Faulkner gone too deep? Over-under attempt from the 551, but Faulkner maintains that speed and is able to keep the position.
You're talking about a few off-track excursions and then right on cue, Scotty did that, so here's Preston making the move. Dance! Around he goes. And he sort of held on to it, but he doesn't look too happy with himself there. That was an absolute pure out-braking move, and uncharacteristic from Cam in this car. He's usually pretty faultless in this car. This is one of his cars that we've seen time and again that he's been very, very good in. But that wasn't quite what we would expect from him.
Well, I think I've just seen the reason why, if we go to the replay as we are now. Riley Preston, he got the move done down the straight. If we go back a little earlier than this, so this is very nice slow motion, Preston moved back onto the racing line as they entered the braking zone. He was ahead of Cameron Dance, and I suppose he's entitled to do that, but it happened a little earlier than Dance expected. He had to get on the brakes hard and ended up pinching the rears.
And of course, the reason Preston was on the brakes a little bit earlier was because he had more momentum due to being in the draft and then making the overtake. So that was, yeah, interesting one from both guys there, and uncharacteristic from both. I mean, Preston probably thought that he had a little bit more room, and Cam still trying to be aggressive and make sure that he had a chance to come back. Yeah, uncharacteristic. But they continue on, and Preston now closing it on Hinz.
Well, they will be fighting for positions, but if Hinsey can keep going as he is, it's still championship secured in the flat sixes at the moment for Hinsey, the driver of the number 52 machine.
He's still back at it again too, Race. Almost a move back through from Stevens, but couldn't quite get it done, but he might down the front straight.
It's going to be all about the exit here from the final corner. It seems Faulkner was able to get on the throttle a little bit faster. But Scott, of course, in the draft, he will stay with him towards turn one. I think a bit far back to think about making a maneuver at the moment, but they are alone on track, and the only chance for a position for either of these guys now is with each other. So it's in Scott's best interests here to try and stay with Benjamin. Preston, meanwhile, continuing to chip away at the gap to Thomas Hinz. 209.645 was Hinsey's last lap, a 208.744 Riley Preston's last lap. It certainly makes me think, what if, you know? If Preston had had a more consistent season, had turned up for a couple more rounds, he would undoubtedly be in the top, no question.
Would have been an interesting fight the whole way through if we had Yaman for the whole season and Preston for the entirety as well. Yeah, it would have been a very, very tight top three, I've got no doubt. But Preston out there having fun, and interesting that as long as there's no penalties applied to him, so as long as he doesn't do anything that results in a penalty, he will win the championship now, because there's only 11 cars remaining in the race with the carnage that we've seen earlier on. So Hinsey now will probably be getting information fed to him from his team that he's in that situation. So I wouldn't be surprised if Hinsey just lives here and lets Riley Preston through.
Yeah, but by the same token, I think Hinsey's the kind of driver who would think, well, if he wants to pass me, he can catch up to me first. And
Yep.
Riley Preston can certainly do that, but Hinsey is not going to make it too easy for him. Have a look at this run, though, in the draft from Preston. You see the amount of difference in speed that these cars have coming down these long straights. It's not going to be a move for Riley Preston this time, but probably down at turn 5 for sure.
Yeah, I think you're right. I don't think we'll see an ambitious move from him either. He'll set it up and do it properly as well. We know the sort of driver that Riley is, and Hinsey is too. So both these drivers both have a lot of respect for each other out on track too, which is always great to see. But look at the momentum, just the draft and the exit of the corner, just too good from Preston. And move done before he puts his foot on the brakes into turn 5. Great move, great drive from Riley Preston. Now the big challenge is, will he be able to close up that 3-second gap to that drop bear car ahead?
Well, considering that he has about 8/10 on these guys in general, I'd say it's certainly possible for him to make up that time if he doesn't make any mistakes on the way. But Daniel Yaman's been holding on very nicely to the lead. I mean, it shows in how he's managed to gap Thomas Hinz in the lead by 3.4 seconds if you're talking about the gap between himself and Hinz at the moment. Of course, Riley Preston making it 2.8 seconds at the moment.
And interesting that Dance is 10 seconds back behind these guys. So that little spin at turn 1 wasn't as little as original, because it's cost him 10 plus seconds. Preston's pace obviously is another part of that as well, but that's really been costly for Cam Dance, and he'll be ruining that mistake. but he's got Luke Swan up ahead, who he is closing up on. So there is a chance for another spot gain for him. As we hit the halfway point, 11 done. We've got 11 to go.
There we are. And in terms of Cameron Dance, he doesn't have any pressure from behind either. Sam Stride is 6 seconds back from him and falling away. He's going to have to worry about Mark Noble, Benjamin Faulkner pretty soon. Something else has happened to Scott Stevens in the meantime. The gap between he and Faulkner is now out to around 4 seconds. And coming into the pits is Scott Stevens. Not too sure what the deal is there.
A very unscheduled stop here. I'm going to look at the sector times to see where he's made a mistake to the lap. The sector times don't look completely horrible, so strange stop. So there's obviously some reason for it, because he wouldn't be making a stop without a legitimate, necessary reason. And as you're saying too, Benjamin Faulkner is probably the one to watch at the moment, because he is closing in that gap to Noble and Stride ahead at a fairly rapid rate as well. Last lap by 0.8 of a second faster than Noble, and about half a second faster than Stride. So Faulkner's still on for a top 5, top 6 here.
That he is. And seems Sam Stride is the only car in this group here that is not carrying any damage, at least to the front from what I can see. You see Mark Noble, his front right is looking fairly substandard. It's the front left for Benjamin Faulkner, so they are going to be having a little bit of aerodynamic disturbance down the straights, and maybe a little bit in the corners as well. Yeah, considering that. Certainly won't help the pace. We'll check back in on that when things develop. Scott Stevens has not come out of the pits yet. It actually looks like he's
retired,
stopped in his box. Yeah, he's retired. That's a shame. Maybe there was just too much damage to continue on for Scotty. Having to deal with the wayward behaviour of that car. I mean, I could see Faulkner gapping him before he decided to pull into the pits. As Sam Stride, what's going on with him? That is a big spin there, and plenty of damage to the number 42. That's down at Canada Corner. What on earth has gone on for him there? We'll check out on the
saying that he had no damage on his car?
Yeah, I was. That's a different kind
curse from you.
A different kind of commentator's
We've
curse.
We've both done it tonight.
Well, here's what happened to him. Just locked the rears in the braking zone and got fired straight into the inside wall.
That's a very unusual incident. We don't see that too often. But yeah, Stridey with all sorts of damage, and he's had to bring it into the pits. So obviously got a meatball and just speeding in the pit lane. He doesn't care.
Wow.
He might be race done as well.
All right.
I'll tell you what's getting interesting, Reece, sorry to cut you off there, is Thomas Hinds is closing back in on Riley Preston.
Oh. Yeah, I mean, I did see you focus on them briefly a few moments ago, and I thought, well, surely Hinsey should be further behind than that. I'm not too sure what's gone on here. Maybe Riley Preston has taken everything that he can out of his tyres to make up those positions, and perhaps he's just looking to manage the pace now. Either way, the gap to Daniel Yaman is not coming down as much as I thought it would. It's at 2.6 at the moment, and not exactly falling.
100%. It's sort of fluctuating, but it's not dropping by a huge margin, is it? I mean, last lap by Yaman was about the same lap time as him, so we were separated by a couple of thousandths, and Preston was a tenth slower. So all three lapping pretty much identical lap times. In saying that, this lap right now, Preston and Hinds are closing in a little bit on Dan Yaman. Sam Stride, no doubt, to nobody's surprise here, that he has retired from the race.
He has. There are 9 cars left running in the race now, and there's been another spinner down at Canada Corner, the number 11 of Luke Swan, and that means Cameron Dance has now been promoted into the top 4. What happened to Swan looks pretty much the same thing that happened to Stride. Now, maybe the rear end, maybe a little different. The rear end was going light here for Mr. Faulkner. You'll see it here. Not so much a lock-up like what happened to Stride, but certainly was not able to get it slowed down in time for the corner. And the engine being in the rear on these Porsches, it swings like a pendulum once the rear end breaks away.
Here is Faulkner on Noble, and that is move done. Mark Noble will no doubt get out of the throttle here, and one of the oldest teams within the AusNZ sim racing community, that being KRF Motorsport, 10 years young, still going on with Mark Noble at the helm. KRF was around when you and I were teammates, Reese. Probably before then.
Yeah, they definitely are one of the eldest statespeople of Australia, New Zealand sim racing, are the Kimmy's Rural Fencing boys. And may they continue racing for a long time to come. Hins and Preston then. Looks like Preston's managed to get a bit of pace back here and gap Hinsey a little more. It's out to about a second between the two of them. But Preston's starting to close in again on Daniel Yaman here. The gap's down to about 2.3, 2.2 seconds. Again, ebbing and flowing. But maybe he's just managing the pace to the end here. Trying not to push too hard.
Yeah. I mean, Hinsey will probably want the spot back. I mean, Hinsey's a competitive guy, so he'll be trying to fight for the spot, but still a lot of racing left in this race. I mean, it's a long track, so we've still got like 60-odd kilometres of racing left with 9 to go. So a lot still could happen in this next little bit. We could still have a safety car. We could still have anything happen. A lockup has proven costly for half the field pretty much, so one lockup from these guys could completely change the whole complexion of the race.
So then, the beginning of lap 15 of 22. Yaman is not pushing either right now, at least from what I can see from my exterior views. That's the view for Thomas Hins. And that's a face that we, there's a face that we rarely see from him, a smile. For Thomas Hins. But before that, a face that we've seen quite a bit, that of dead serious concentration as he tries to stay in touch with Riley Preston here. The gap's come down to under 2 seconds between Yaman and Preston now. And with 8 to go, with that kind of difference in pace between them, I'd say Preston would be looking to take the lead with maybe 2 laps to go.
Not a huge difference in lap. Yeah, not a huge difference in lap time last lap, but this lap here has already been half a second taken out. So at the start of the lap it was 2.2 seconds, it's now 1.6. So Preston is flying on this lap right now, and starting to get a little sniff of draft. And in saying that, every lap, Preston has looked really good at the first part of the lap, but this really fast section is where Yaman started to look a lot better, purely because of that damage to the front of Preston's car.
Yes, Preston's got fair bit out of whack there. Having said that, I'm looking at Daniel Yaman, and he seems to have the same kind of damage on his front right. So it's very subtle. Can't quite see it very well, especially with the drop bear livery being the way it is. But yeah, you zoom in and you can see it right there. Both of these guys struggling with some extra damage on their cars. By comparison, Thomas Hins has the cleanest car in the top 3.
Cleanest car in the whole field.
Cameron Dance is a close second for that as we go to...
Maybe not for much longer if he keeps doing this.
Oh, let's have a look.
He's lost 4.5 seconds on this lap.
So this was another problem down at Canada Corner, evidently.
Further back, actually.
Right.
There it is. Carousel, and keep it off the wall, and he just does.
Ooh. Yeah, that's an easy thing to do at the carousel if you push in too hard. A lot of drivers will go for a consistent inside line the whole way through that corner, but I've noticed Cameron Dance being one of the drivers to double apex it, take an early clip to the inside, run it out wide in the middle of the corner, then straighten up the exit to get as much speed as possible down the straight, and ultimately not working out for him that time. He does still hold on to 4th place though, albeit less than 2 seconds now ahead of Luke Swan for that last spot in the top 5. Riley Preston and Daniel Yaman, your protagonists here at the front of the field. And the gap chipping down every so often. It's down to 1.3 seconds now as we enter the part of the circuit where Yaman seems to gain a bit of time. Preston, though, yeah, barely any steering input through the kink. You want to kind of work with the rear end and the oversteering nature of these cars on exit to try and power your way through it.
Well, look at the
Battle
difference
with the
in
car's
lap
natural
time.
understeer. Wow.
2.8 for Preston. 2.08, I should say, and 8.5. 9.3 for Yaman. So that's a huge difference in lap time. And I think this is sort of going to be a similar gap this lap. Maybe not quite as bad.
We shall take a look. But now that Preston is within draft range of Daniel Yaman, I'm seeing the gap tick down by the 100th down these straights. 1.05 seconds now between the two of them, and took out another 1.1 seconds, as you can see. So Preston, maybe a bit of a lull in the pace. Maybe he was just trying to get a bit of rhythm back, but now that he is back on the charge.
6 laps to go, so still plenty left around this beautiful, iconic circuit. It's become a staple of the V8SCOPS Championship, being the finale of the season. Been the final round for 5 seasons now, hasn't it, Reese? 5 or maybe even 6. It's been a really, really good choice to have as the final round. It always provides a really epic finale to the championship. Always a spicy race, always interesting, always really, really interesting stories that develop throughout the race.
Yeah, I couldn't imagine a V8SCOPS season without Road America as the final round, as Cameron Dance has just had another spin at turn 5. That has let Luke Swan through into P4. So this has not been a good night for Cameron Dance. Preston versus Yaman, though. Yeah, very uncharacteristic. I mean, Cameron Dance was just officially crowned the champion of the International Division of the Majors Series this past weekend after a fantastic season-long battle with Thomas Hens. And he certainly has shown that he has what it takes to win in these Porsches. So yeah, I'm surprised that Cameron Dance has been making the mistakes that he has. Hopefully he'll be able to work them out and get a nice consistent run to the end. But Preston has now rounded up Daniel Yaman. 0.6 of a second between them down the front stretch as they start lap 18. 5 laps to go. And Riley Preston not making up a huge amount of time in the draft compared to the times he's done before, but he is within range now. That is the main thing. And Daniel Yaman here is going to have to start looking up into the corners of his screen to check his mirrors.
Yeah, we're starting to worry about what's happening behind, and seeing how much Hens has dropped off as well is probably going to be concerning, because Hens and Yaman were pretty much identical for pace for a lot of the race, all throughout practice and very, very close in qualifying as well. So Yaman seeing, a little mistake there from Yaman there too. So pressure starting to mount here for Dan, and he'll be a little bit upset that he's starting to feel the pressure behind him. He's usually pretty cool, calm and collected, but starting to feel it from behind.
Through the hurry downs they go, and over the curb and onto the grass. There's a big bump at the end of that curb that can massively unsettle you. Yaman has hit it. Preston has hit it in this race before. How many times will they hit it to the end? The Carousel. Once again, this is the part of the circuit where Yaman seems to be faster. A little bit of a tighter exit from the Carousel means he can keep the car a little straighter and get a better run here coming into the kink. They both managed to keep it off the grass, though only just. You're always pushing the limits through corners like that. And Preston not electing to stick too close to him down this section coming up to Canada Corner. Yeah, it does seem to be those 2 opening long straights of the lap where Preston has been content to make the moves.
Yeah, it's all draft, isn't it, that he's been able to use to his advantage. And again, really, really nice exit, but Yaman just a tiny, tiny little bit better. So flash the headlights to try and apply some pressure. Dan Yaman won't fall for that. Yeah, interesting. You just see right at the bottom of the screen there, that's Isaac Edwards limping around. Fingers crossed he doesn't unintentionally become involved in this battle, but sometimes strange things happen with lap cars. And we've seen it before in this series where lap cars unintentionally get involved. Isaac's usually pretty clued on though, so we'll see how that plays out.
Shall indeed. But have a look at this. There is now a car length between these two. Preston will get the maximum benefit of the draft now versus Daniel Yaman, but will he have enough to go for the move in the braking zone here? Pulls out and has a little bit of a look, but of course due to the nature of the track you do want to move to the left a little bit in that section. He's closer than ever now, but this is the quote-unquote twisty part of the lap, so he's going to have a bit of a tough time getting by if Daniel Yaman has anything to say about it. This curb again, they both managed to avoid the end of it, keep the cars nice and stable down the hurry downs. But starting to push the bumper now of Daniel Yaman is Riley Preston. It's going to happen here on the exit of the carousel. Earlier turn in for Preston. He's sticking to the inside the whole way, and I think Yaman's actually pushed a bit too hard in the early phase of the corner there. He'll get it back here, though, with the late apex onto the straight up to the kink.
Great fight, isn't it? And Yaman's just doing enough to hold on to the gap. It's, not dropping below the quarter of a second. Isaac Edwards does get out of it and possibly cost a lock up there for Isaac as he realised he might have been going a bit too quick to let those guys through. Probably cost Preston a potential passing opportunity because Preston may have been close enough to throw a dive in there. But the other part of that is, does Preston want to make this move too early? He doesn't want to get in and get the spot and then let Dan Yaman get the spot straight back. So this is going to be a very, very interesting fight. 3 to go. When does Preston try and make the move? You notice there, just as they come up over the rise, you can almost see the draft start to kick in, because saw it went from Yaman starting to pull away to Preston almost instantly starting to pull the gap back. How's that slide?
Okay, so Riley Preston is certainly not backing off here, but he's still keeping in with a chance here at Daniel Yaman. And I was going to say, in response to your question, Jay, if I'm Riley Preston, I would want to make the move down here at turn 5, because then the rest of the lap, the parts through the kinks and the hurry downs and the carousel would give me an opportunity to try and gap him and prevent him coming back at me into Canada corner. So maybe that's what he's trying to do. Ultimately, he's not close enough to get the move done at turn 5 this time.
Very, very good point. But remember that those latter half of the lap is when Yaman's been strongest too. So that may not be the right way to go as well. It's one of those situations where it's much better to be the one watching the battle than being involved in it, I think. It's turning into a true 2-car race, because you can see Hins in the background really starting to drop off from these guys now.
Yeah, he's 4.3 seconds back from Yaman, 4 back from Preston. Coming up to the kink now for the 20th time. If Preston is going to make a move for the lead, he has timed it very well in these latter stages of the race. Just doing the minimum that he needs to do to come away with victory tonight. But they will continue to push into Canada corner, out over the curb. Take care not to catch the grass too much there, otherwise you will go for a spin. Got to get it right out of here as well. Use the access road to widen your line out of the corner. And Preston, he went very deep into the final corner that time. Nearly made rear end contact with Daniel Yaman. And that's allowed Daniel to get a bit of a better exit, better traction out of the final corner. And Preston, as far back as he was at the start of the lap. And, he does pull out to distract Yaman in his mirrors, but no chance of the move being made. Could Yaman still come away with this?
Wondering if Yaman actually held the brake a tiny little bit longer in the mid-corner just to force Preston to have to check up a little bit so that he couldn't get the run onto the front straight. We're going to see all different sorts of gamesmanship here, but I tell you now, Preston's got the run, he's got the momentum, and we're going to see a move into turn 5 here. Yaman's going to try and hold on, but I think it might be too little.
Yeah, they were very close
Oh,
to that. Oh no! Side-by-side contact. Daniel Yaman goes spearing off the track. He's going to avoid the wall, but that is a way to lose the lead that no driver wants. I think Riley Preston might be feeling a little sheepish there as well. Of course, there's a lot of elements to consider in that incident. The way the track curves to the left in the braking zone and things like that. But what on earth went on here? It was the slightest of contact between Preston and Yaman.
Tell you what, every angle you see, it makes it look different, doesn't it? That angle there looked like a completely different incident to the first one we saw live. Live there, that was the shot we saw live. That looked like it was Preston moving into Yaman, but the first replay we saw, it looked like it was Yaman into Preston. So, good luck, race control. Another situation where we're glad it's them and not us.
Yeah, well, if I can put my driver's brain on for a second, I think it makes sense that Preston would have moved to the left there. He was getting on the brakes for turn 5, and of course the track does turn to the left. You end up going into the middle of the road just by taking the normal line. Yaman, I think, was expecting Preston to stay all the way to the right, all the way into the corner. And just a very unfortunate incident there. Either way, it is Riley Preston who will take the lead. And Luke Swan and Cameron Dance still not done with each other, as we can see, with 2 laps to go. Now 1 lap to go for Riley Preston.
Dance will want to get this spot back here. He was on for a second position, what feels like an eternity ago. Now finds himself in 5th after countless uncharacteristic mistakes, but he will at least finish in the top 5 because Faulkner fair way back, but top 5 won't be enough to or for him, he'll be thinking that he's thrown away a really, really good result in this one, with him being back in 5th.
Yeah, Dance would well and truly have been part of that podium fight with Hinz, Yaman and Preston if things had been a little different. As things stand, he is going to have to settle for a 4th place at best if he's successful in passing Luke Swan. But Riley Preston, this is a position that he's very familiar with in this series when he has raced. Out in the lead by a country mile with no challenges. And the incident with Daniel Yaman aside, not much you can take away from Riley Preston here. Remember, he started from the pits. He was stopped for a while longer than everyone else, and he's still going to come away with victory pretty much on pace.
Yeah, exactly. It's been dominant, fastest lap of the race by a decent margin, fastest in qualifying, and started in the pits to still come home with a good result. As Dance gets through on Swan right at the end, Preston comes up across the line and take the victory in the final race of the season.
So it is Riley Preston who crosses the line in 1st place here at Road America, but just behind him in 2nd place, Thomas Hinz with a celebratory swig. He is your V8SCOPS Support Flat Sixes champion. Big congratulations, Hinzy, the most consistent run of all the drivers across the season. Daniel Yaman's going to come home for 3rd place, and he might be a bit dissatisfied with that, but knowing how mature Daniel Yaman is, he will take it in his stride. Cameron Dance, he's going to hold on for 4th place here, and Luke Swan completing the top 5. Still only 9 cars on track at the end of this race. Pretty much half the field retiring from this final race of the Flat Sixes for 2021. Well, the victory celebrations shall begin for Riley Preston for the race win, and for Thomas Hinz here, the driver with the most points at the end of the season. He didn't He didn't have a huge mountain to climb ahead of him, but it was still one heck of a hill, and he has managed to summit it.
Definitely, it wasn't set in stone, and he had to work hard the entirety of the season, and as you said, been the most consistent driver throughout. He'll do a little bit of a celebratory burnout right here. Almost gets cleaned up.
Cameron Dance there celebrating with him in the runoff area, or actually he's just pulled out to escape. Benjamin Faulkner doing the same thing, but Hinsey will turn that rubber into smoke, as he is entitled to. Of course, Hins with a heartbreaking loss to Cameron Dance in the Majors Series, so this championship victory will certainly brighten things up for him.
100%. Was an epic championship fight between those two throughout the major series, and to see them both be competitive in this series as well shows how good of drivers both of them are. What a championship it's been, and we've still got a race to go in the championship too, which is coming up next. Very, very looking forward to that.
Absolutely. We have the V8s coming up very shortly after this. Riley Preston by 3.8 seconds over Thomas Hins, the final race result of the flat sixes. Yaman, Dance and Swan, of course, completing the top five. Faulkner managed to come through for sixth. Mark Noble and Anthony Green, the last cars on the lead lap. Isaac Edwards, he stayed out when the safety car came out and then involved in an incident. Ninth place was the best that he could hope for, with the rest of the field not making it to the end, Sam Stride being the first of them.
Big casualty list behind Stevens, Mizomo, Russell, Lear, Flock, Harnell and O'Keefe, with Harnell and Flock both out very, very early. Flock's car stopping, causing the safety car, and Aaron Russell will be a little bit disappointed with how his race ended with that contact with Mizomo, and Mizomo, he's already brushed it off and he's getting ready for the next race, which is coming up in just a couple of minutes time. But we've got a couple of drivers in for a chat.
We have indeed, and I think we shall go for our race winner first. Riley Preston joins us in the commentary box. Riley, a bit of an interesting one for you. Not only did you start from the pits, but you also stopped a damn sight longer than everybody else. What was going on?
Yeah, to be honest, just a little bit of miscommunication with the team there. We didn't get the car ready for the start. But yeah, it spiced things up nicely in the race. And in the pit stop, I'm not really sure what happened, to be honest. I kind of came in fifth place and came out in last once again. But yeah, it was good fun fighting through the field and getting past everyone, getting past Hinsey. I'm not sure what happened at the end there with Daniel, but it is what it is. I'll have to take a look at it.
Yeah, it looked like a racing incident at the very least from my perspective, but we'll see what race control has to say about it. But, you know, like I think this performance from you, in terms of pace, in terms of moves being made, is characteristic of your season. You know, you've been able to really put yourself on another level to other drivers in this series in terms of pace. Unfortunately, couldn't quite put it together for a championship run, but I'm sure you can still be satisfied with your performances this year.
Yeah, I think the pace is definitely something to be proud of. It was just really my Ayrton Senna moment at Bathurst that kind of cost me the championship, putting it in the wall there. But obviously, Thomas drove a super consistent season. He was always up there in the podium position. So well done to him, well deserved. And hopefully next time I can put it all together to get the championship.
And we certainly hope there is going to be a next time there as well if V8SCOPS Supports is indeed returning in 2022 as predicted. Before we let you go, Riley Preston, anyone you'd like to thank for your victory today?
Yeah, shout out to Brenton O'Brien and Damon K. Woods in the voice chat today. They really egged me on and kept me going. Always very positive. So big thanks to them, and thanks to the team, ERT, Logitech G, and the rest of our sponsors as well.
Riley Preston, top at Road America, second place in the championship. And we will bring home our second place finisher and first in the championship. Thomas Hinz joins us. Well, Hinzy, majors last week. You had to deal with settling for second there, but top honours are yours tonight in the flat sixes. How does it feel?
Yeah, really good, really good. It was handy knowing obviously the situation coming in. I knew I just had to sort of basically just keep it clean and get to the end was really all I had to do to secure it. Everyone blowing up apparently sort of helped, I guess. But it was good. It was just keep it clean, keep it chill. Pace was okay, really, but that was fine. As I said, I just need to sort of get to the end. It's great. I think in the last 2 or 3 years, it's the second one I've got, and both of them have been inaugural seasons of stuff. So I guess the moral of the story is I've just got to do more series where they're their first season of the series, and apparently I might win it, maybe. I guess that's what I need to do is just do more series. They're just starting apparently. Really good fun and great fun battling Riley over the season and Daniel and Cam and everyone who raced it. Was really good fun. So awesome year of racing in it, and really good to send off the 911 or 991 as well.
Yeah, good point you make there. This is the final season that we'll be using the 991 Porsche, and it's a car that carries a lot of great memories for many sim racers, doesn't it, Hinzy? You've certainly had your fair share of racing in that car aside from this year.
Yeah. There's a lot of memories. Yeah, going back to it's been that long. The names escape me. Like Porsche Cup Australia and the other support series that was for SCOPS a few years ago. What was it called again? Oh my god, the name's right there, and I can't. Oh god. Anyway, it was another
flat sixes, I suppose.
Yeah, basically flat six is a different name. Yeah. Going way back then when the car first came out, 4 years, whatever it was, 4 years ago, 5 years ago, whatever. Going way back there, then with new tire model, new damage model for a bit there, then back to the old one, and all that stuff. So yeah, lots of memories for a lot of people, and obviously with the Pro Series as well. So yeah, it's had a really good run. I personally still enjoy it more than 992. That might be because I feel like I'm really slow on 992. That's probably actually why, but shush. It's going to be missed. That really unique character of the 991. Obviously, the 992's still got it there, but it's a little less prominent, I feel like, in the 992. So the 991, I'll definitely miss it for just its very, very Porsche way of driving. So it's going to be missed for sure. Good to send it off this season and give it one last hurrah here. So.
Absolutely. And looking forward to 2022, are you going to be back for flat sixes if it returns?
Hopefully. It's good to do this sort of stuff a bit more, obviously with majors and that as well, because don't really have the time to do SCOPS. I mean, I was literally at the start of this race because I just finished a week of work, and it's just always insane, especially for us now with Christmas and everything. So I was at the start just very tired. Still am very tired, but the adrenaline's kind of helped me out a bit during the race, but I was very dead. SCOPS is a bit hard to do. Anything like that's a bit harder to do just because the energy's just not there anymore, like it used to be, and I just don't really have the time anymore. So it's cool to still, do other stuff like this and majors where you can just jump in, have a bit of fun, still race seriously, of course, and have a good go, but have a bit more fun as well. So yeah, definitely if it comes up again next year and everything, I'll probably I'd say give it another go for sure. So yeah.
Well, before we let you go, Hinzy, you obviously have a list of people you'd like to thank for your championship victory tonight.
Yeah, I guess mostly, obviously, just the HGR crew. Obviously, they're always incredible, as I always say. Big thanks to Henry for putting it on and just being awesome. He's straight in there as soon as it was done, congratulating everything. He's just such a legend. Henry is a absolute superstar. So huge thanks to him just for taking me as well. Was it 3 years ago now or whatever it was? I think it was 3. Huge thanks to him for bringing me into the group and everything, because it's just an awesome bunch of people who just love racing, which love having a good time. So big thanks to them, and big thanks to him for putting it all on with the supports and getting organised. Really, really cool thing with these and the old V8s as well. Big thanks to them and SCOPS and OSR. with this and running the series. And big thanks to you guys for broadcasting it. Really, really good stuff, and obviously putting on a great show as always. And all the sponsors on the carging, shifters, fifth gear motoring, all those guys. Really big thanks to them as well for supporting the team. And I guess bring on 2022, I suppose.
There's Thomas Hinds, once again, your Flat Sixes champion for 2021. The RacingSims.co.nz V8SCOPS support series, though, is not over. We still have a race to go here tonight. Another 22-lap race with a mandatory 4-tyre pit stop, but in the V8s. Who's going to take victory in that series? Aaron Gilbert or Henry King? We'll find out very shortly here on SimSpeed TV. You're watching the RacingSims.co.nz V8SCOPS support series. We'll be back very shortly.
Travis Pastrana here. iRacing, Climbing the Clouds, Mount Washington Hill Climb available now. Check it out.
This is fantastic. This is GT racing right now.
He's got traction. He's got everything outside of both of them. Maloney.
Oh, he's taking Anderson. Anderson's up top.
Oh my God! Big crash. Oh my goodness, half the field's going to get rolled.
Six very close. These guys are want to make their way through the field very quickly.
Oh, there we go.
Oh no! That's massive! This is it! This is over! I can't believe this! Oh my god!
God, what?
Live on SimSpeed TV this Friday, the 12th of November, 2021. It is round 15 of the Virtual Racing School V8SCOPS and the final round of the V8SCOPS support series presented by RacingSims.co.nz. Once again, we are at Road America, and we've just come away from quite the interesting race in the Flat Sixes, where Raleigh Preston took victory and Thomas Hinds took the championship title. Now we've got another championship title to decide in the V8s, using the old Australian touring cars. I am Reese Gardner, it's Jay Kennedy alongside me in the commentary box and on production as well. Jay, now it's time for the big guns here, as we take another look at the venue we're racing at tonight, Road America, the Monza of North America.
Yeah, and what a track this is. It always provides amazing, close, tight racing. We say it each and every time we come here that we love this place purely because it provides amazing racing. One of the more iconic things is that the length of the run into turn one, uncharacteristic for a lot of circuits in modern times, it's such a huge length from the start line to turn one, but it may have caught a couple of drivers out in the Porsche race. Fingers crossed we'll see that the V8s get around the track quite fine and quite clean. And as we suspected, the kink and Canada Corner provided a lot of action in that race.
How much action shall they provide in the V8s is the question. These cars, they're pretty similar in pace to the Flat Sixes around most tracks, but of course they have much more power. So we're seeing times a couple of seconds faster than our Flat Six field. And in terms of the format, it's exactly the same as it was previously. 22-lap race. Between the end of lap 2 and the start of lap 20, you can come in to take your mandatory pit stop for 4 tyres. And the championship fight is between this guy, Aaron Gilbert, and his teammate at Jinx Shifters, Henry James Racing, Henry King. And the championship situation, as it looks at the moment, it's essentially Aaron Gilbert's to lose right now. He leads from Henry King by 51 points there. And the long and short of it, Jay, is Gilbert needs to finish 7th or higher to win the championship. If Henry King wants to take the title, he has to win, and Aaron Gilbert has to finish 8th or lower. So with Aaron Gilbert being generally the faster of the two across the season, you'd say that it's in his favour.
100%. As you said, Gilbert's to lose. Similar situation to what we just saw with Hinsey. Hinsey had to win or finish well to secure the championship. That's basically the same here for Gilbert. just has to finish with a solid result and he wins the championship regardless of what else happens around him. So he has got the potential to win the championship. It's in his hands, which is what you want to see. You want to win the championship on your own merit, and he can do that. Finish in the top 7. He'll be hoping to do a little bit better than that, especially with the pace he's shown throughout the championship. Wouldn't be surprised to see him up in the top 3 as opposed to back in the top 7.
Indeed, and we also saw on our championship standings graphic Daniel Stevens and Anthony Green for 5th and 6th in the standings. They're not separated by much. Looks to me like 27 points separating them. Daniel Stevens is it definitely seems to have the advantage though in terms of pace tonight. Be interesting to see where Anthony Green ends up starting, but he will probably be a few places behind Stevens unless the driver of the number 3 has a couple of problems out there on track in qualifying. So we'll see how that works out between them too.
There is Dan Stevens. Love watching over Dan's shoulder. It's such a cool sight. You've got the shifter, realistic shifter out there with the sequential. Great to see that too. Not many drivers use that. A lot of drivers stick with the paddles. It's because of room and comfort things. So good to see him using that. I love it. Love to see it.
Yeah, always cool to see. Of course, these being the old cars, they will have the sequential shifter forevermore. The Holden Commodore and Ford Falcon from 2014. These were the cars used for the majority of the seasons of V8SCOPS. And they have been retired in favour of the newer Mustang and Commodore in the main series, but they still get a run here in the V8's support series, and the drivers have been very happy with that. They enjoy how these cars drive, and it's been something that's been sort of hinted at and discussed over the course of the season, Jay, but there is some pretty substantial differences between these cars and the more modern ones run in the V8SCOPS main game. But the long and short of it is these cars are apparently a bit easier to push.
Easier to push, but use a ton more fuel is basically the easiest way to describe the difference between the new and these ones. Of course, these ones made their debut, the Holden that is, that made its debut at our very, very first Bathurst 1000 back in November 2014. So this car will be just coming on 7 years old now. Speaking of birthdays, Reece, I just remembered that it's our birthday in just a couple of weeks. We turn 10 in a couple of weeks, SimSpeed/V8s Online.
That is insane. It's been a very long journey, hasn't it? I mean, you've obviously been here since the very start when V8s Online was first set up near the end of 2011. Then, we had the likes of Daniel Bryant and Corey Slade helping us out with broadcasts and the like. Oh, bit of a problem there for Daniel Stevens, rear end braking free into Canada corner. Then around 2013, Sebastian Murray Westberg took over from you as leader and director of SimSpeed TV, brought me on, and I've been a part of the commentary team since. Then you ended up coming back. Scott Fountain joined us. We changed our name to SimSpeed. God, lots happened in the last decade, hasn't it?
It's been incredible, the journey that we've been on with SimSpeed. So the fact that we're now known as SimSpeed, it took a long time to work out what we'd rebrand to, because we knew that the V8s Online name didn't really match who we were anymore. It's been an incredible journey and getting bigger and stronger after 10 years, and the fact that we're still going after 10 years is saying something as well. So I think we've done all right over 10 years.
I think so too. Well, racing is the main reason that we are here, and in terms of the race for pole position, currently it is Gavin Cox who holds provisional pole here in the qualifying session. We're about to come up to the halfway mark of this session. Gavin Cox and Daniel Stevens making it a middle finger racing 1-2. Our championship protagonists, Gilbert and King, currently in 3rd and 4th, but not much of a gap between 1st, 2nd and 3rd there.
Really tight, isn't it? Under a 10th from 1st to 2nd, under a 10th from 2nd to 3rd, then 3/10 from 3rd to 4th. So pretty close in those top few at the moment. We've only got 2 drivers that have not set a lap time at the moment. Nathan Tregarthen and Brett O'Keefe yet to set a lap time. Brett O'Keefe is out there now. Tregarthen has not made it out onto the circuit at this stage.
Yes, so a small field here to cap off the season in the V8s, but that rarely means much. Small fields racing can still be very exciting if the pace is close enough, and judging by those opening times in this qualifying session, we are going to have a close and competitive grid here for the final round of the V8s. Question is now, who will be able to find what they need in the last half of the session? It's a pretty wide field spread in terms of times. Out of the 10 drivers that have set times, it looks to be somewhere in the realm of 4 seconds between first and last. So the likes of Reese Harnell and Anthony Green will be looking to take about half a second at least off their times before the end of the session, as the 03 of Aaron Gilbert, championship leader, making his way around the circuit. And I think he is on a hot lap at the moment, potentially.
He's just about to start one.
Right, just about to start one. So why don't we take this opportunity then, Jay, to go on board here with our championship leader, go on a lap around Road America. Up the rise on the start-finish straight, this incredibly long start-finish stretch here at Road America, and that very long run to turn 1 as you described in the pre-show. You want to brake at the first set of cones there to go into turn 1. A very fast and open first turn, but you can easily make out braking maneuvers there. This little kink is apparently turn 2, according to the track, and then turn 3. You got to try and keep it tight, but don't run too narrow, because you want to get a nice straight exit onto this flat-out section under the Sargento Cheese Bridge. Of course, Road America in Wisconsin, the cheese state of America. And then braking at about the number 3 marker, down into turn 5, the slowest corner on the circuit. Short shifting into second gear, going down to first maybe to get a bit of extra rotation on the car is Aaron Gilbert. The track levels out, you've got to try and manage the weight transfer through that left-hander there. A bit of a lift, maybe a tap of the brakes through this right-hand kink, and then down the hurry downs you go. Brake as late as you dare into this tight left-hander. Bit of oversteer there for Aaron Gilbert, not getting the exit he needed to get into the carousel. He goes up a gear though, just riding the brakes in the middle of the corner just to get a bit of rotation on, more weight on the fronts, and nail the exit. And then here is the most important corner on the track, the kink. You got to brake for it in the V8s, and he runs a bit wide of the curve that time. Not exactly nailing the line, but might still be an improvement for Aaron Gilbert as he gets on the brakes for Canada corner. Very easy to lose the rear into this turn, which is a bit faster than it looks. Use all the curb on the outside, but be careful not to hit the grass. 13 and then 13A. You got to run out across the access road here just to widen the line. And then the final corner, you're braking and turning at the same time. You want to try and hook up a late apex and get on the power nice and straight to bring your momentum onto the start-finish stretch. That's a lap of Road America with Aaron Gilbert. Is it going to be an improvement on a 2:07.051? It is indeed. He takes a 10th out of it.
Have a look at the gap between first and second now. 16 thousandths of a second.
Oh
we
my
go
goodness.
to Dan Stevens continuing on his lap. Like he may be done actually. Adam Cox also looks like he's continuing on his lap, so we'll see. No, he's done as well. Both of those guys are done on their laps. Still a couple of drivers that are on flying laps. Henry King is one of them. Not too far behind the car of Gavin Cox, but he's not going to improve, so he's backing out of it as well. Drivers, by the looks of second times, are making small mistakes in the second half of the lap.
That's the part of the lap where it's very easy to make mistakes. It's a little bit more reliant on managing your weight transfer rather than just tipping it into a corner and accelerating out. In the process of our chatting, Reese Harnell managed to set a competitive time and elevate himself up to P6, setting a 2:07.9. Darren Crosby, meanwhile, He's looking to improve on what is 9th place for him. 209.0 is what he needs to beat, and oh yeah, he is going to beat that, taking 4 tenths out of it. He bumps Stephen Kennedy down to P9, and Crosby will be up into the top 8. Of course, teammates are Crosby and Kennedy.
Yep. Anthony Green crosses the line and improves on his best. Gains a spot above Jonathan Bykoff. Of course, Bykoff, another former driver in the Super 2 category. Real life.
It's always good to see drivers that we've watched on TV and at the track in real life making their way into the sim sphere and showing everyone what they can do. Bykoff, of course, probably not as close to the front as he would want to be, but still setting consistent times and managing to keep it on the track, which is the main thing.
Another one of the elder statesmen of the sim racing sphere as well. Been around for a long, long time. I remember racing Jonathan when I first started on iRacing a long, long time ago, back when we were racing in black and white.
Yeah, what was it, like 640 by 480 screens back then?
I don't even think. Yeah, just run on a VGA screen back then.
You had to write out your racing moves like a Dungeons and Dragons game, I'm sure.
Using a tablet meant a whole different thing back then.
Into the pits, one of the MFR machines, and then Simon Mizomo. As we highlighted earlier tonight, it's his final race weekend for TechSense Fitstyle Motorsports before he moves to Drop Bear Motorsport. And he didn't have the best of finishes. In fact, he didn't finish at all in the flat sixes thanks to an incident out on track. So one more run here for Simon Mizomo in the Fitstyle colours in the car that he undoubtedly started his sim racing career in.
I got in trouble for saying that he's going to Drop Bear. He's told me off for saying that he's going to Drop Bear, but I'm pretty sure that if you look at his helmet, you can work out that he's going to Drop Bear.
Yeah.
So it's not really that much of a secret, Maz. I'm sorry, but I'm not sorry.
Alright. Well, there we go. Mizomo out through the kink and looking a lot more in control through there than a lot of drivers did in the Porsche 911 last race. See how well he ends up going. He is being very aggressive, soaring away at the wheel here. Of course, these cars very heavy and require an awful lot of effort to change direction, but Mizomo, he's fighting the car a bit there, particularly in the Canada corner, a bit smoother through the final turn, and abandoning that run into the pits, he will come once again.
The only driver actually on a flying lap at the moment is Gavin Cox, and I must say that the sector times so far look pretty good. Personal best first sector, personal best second sector. This track has 6 sectors within the iRacing timing, and sector 3, which was just there, pretty decent as well. So this could be an improvement here for Cox on his 206.8, where he's only 16 thousandths of a second ahead of Aaron Gilbert in P2.
Looked like a nice clean run through the carousel, and any time that Gavin will be able to find on this lap will pay dividends for him. But oh, he was very close to getting an off track there. It looked a bit borderline to me whether or not that lap has been invalidated. I suppose we'll find out very shortly. Into Canada corner he goes, and maybe ran a slight bit wide of the apex, but he gets the power down nicely, tapping the brakes into 13A. And another nice clean exit across the top of the hill. All right, let's see if he bears right and pulls into the pits or commits to the end of this lap. Looks like he is committing. So let's see then if this is an improvement on a 206.886 for Gavin Cox. Across the line he comes, and it is going to be a 206.6.
Nice lap.
Very nice lap. Take 2 tenths out of it. I mean, I'd take that.
Look, I'd be happy to do a 210. My lack of ability these days. As Aaron Gilbert probably saw the time come up on the timing screen and just absolutely bottled it into turn 5. So he's lost any chance of potentially stealing pole away. especially with the limited time left on the clock. He's not going to be able to come around, get back out and get another flyer in. So he's in a tough spot. Brett O'Keefe on a good lap here at the moment too.
O'Keefe currently holding on to P5, and his best lap, 2:07.887. If he wants to challenge Henry King for 4th, he's going to have to find 4/10 on this lap. I don't know if that's going to be the case for him, but you're the one with access to the sector times. Jay, how is it looking?
Yeah, Sector 2 personal best, Sector 3 pretty good. So he's looking pretty reasonable in comparison to Henry King, about matching him for time.
Oh no.
But we don't have to worry about that anymore because he's just proven that he's not going to finish the lap. And in regards to Aaron Gilbert, he lost 2.5 seconds just through that one corner at turn 5. So Aaron Gilbert definitely won't be able to go to P1 on this lap. He's going to have to try and do a second lap on tyres. Usually doesn't work in these cars, but stranger things have happened.
Yeah, well, Road America being as straight heavy as it is, you'd think that it's not too hard on tyres as the 55 of Stephen Kennedy finds the wall. And
he was on a good lap too. Yeah.
Where is that? Is that out at the Carousel?
That is, I think, out of the final corner.
Oh yeah, yeah. Now that I see more, it is in the final corner. So what happened to him here? Looks to me like he might have been dealing with a bit of traffic. Yeah, that's a shame there. Nathan Tregarthen is last of the drivers in this session at the moment. The only car not to set a time in this session. He was trying to get one in before the end, and unfortunately, that's going to be Stephen Kennedy, disadvantaged by that. Two Cummings together on track. Daniel Stevens, let's see if he can improve on 3rd place. Aaron Gilbert not taking further part in the session, so this is the chance for Stevens to strike. And he'll want to jump a bit further into the 206s here. Let's see if
Gilbert
he gets to the end of the lap.
Gilbert has gone on it, and it actually
he has. Okay, so the fight is still on, and this is why Stevens is committed to this. Is it going to be it was very close to an improvement. It is an improvement. Daniel Stevens up to P2 now. So MFR hold the top 2 spots in qualifying, but Aaron Gilbert on a second lap on tyres that are not at their best. Done. No, he's done. Oh man, it's a shame. Well, Darren Crosby, let's see if he can improve on P8. He was on some good laps at the start of the session. Now he's going to have to find 4/10 to beat Simon Mizomo. Will he be able to do it?
Mizomo on a good lap at the moment too, but this lap from Crosby should be an improvement. Current best lap of a 2:08.6. It's going to be in the 2:07s. No, 2:08.6 doesn't improve in the end, so he lost a little bit of ground in that last sector. Mizomo is on a decent one here, but I don't know if he's going to continue on with this lap.
We shall see as he passes by Aaron Gilbert, who just jumped out of the way to let him go. Slight little puff from the tyres there. That was a lock-up from Mizomo, and he's run a bit deep into the final corner, but he's going to commit to the rest of this lap. Will he be able to dip into the 2:07s on this one? No, he will not. It's a 2:08.7 for him on his final lap, but I think he can still be happy with P7. It's pretty much smack dab in the middle of the field. And Stevens, well, it looks like, has he backed off? Is this an in-lap or?
He's in-lap. Yeah.
Well, I mean,
qualifying done.
Yeah, and I think Stevens will be well happy with that. I mean, he took advantage of the situation with Aaron Gilbert and managed to get the lap together when it mattered, and now it's going to be an all middle finger racing front row for the final round of V8SCOPS Support V8s. And crucially for the championship fight, Aaron Gilbert is ahead of Henry King, and far away from finishing position 8 or lower as things stand at the moment.
Waiting for the drivers to come back into the pits. It looks like everyone has come back in, and results are now official.
They are indeed. So, here's your starting grid. For the V8s, Cox and Stevens, all middle finger racing front row. It's an all HJR second row with Aaron Gilbert and Henry King third and fourth. Brett O'Keefe and Reese Harnell will round out the top 6. It's Simon Mizomo and Darren Crosby who start out of 7th and 8th. Then we've got Stephen Kennedy and Jonathan Bykoff rounding out the top 10. Anthony Green, the last of our drivers to set a time. Nathan Tregarthen will probably take the 12th spot on the grid.
Yeah, Tregarthen will be P12. So a smaller field, unfortunately, for the final round, but doesn't mean that the racing will be any less exciting. We've seen some races in this series where the smaller the field, the better the racing's been. So fingers crossed we see that again tonight with a smaller field. And fingers crossed we don't need race control, that being Brett Loxton and Ben Christensen, who are apparently not listening in to their teammates, that being Henry King and Aaron Gilbert. Henry and Aaron are actually sitting together, hiding away in a private channel in the SimSpeed Discord so that they're not being interfered with by race control at all.
Oh, righto. So that shows you how seriously they're all taking this. They know that there's quite a few things to work out here at Road America tonight. And of course, one of those things they'll be thinking about is the pit stop strategy. Now, in the Porsches, the 4-tyre mandatory pit stop, the general thought among the drivers was to pit as early as possible because there isn't much drop-off on the tyres on the Porsche. Is it the same case in these V8s? Definitely not. The drop-off is huge in the V8s. We've seen that in the current gen and the previous gen and the original gen of V8s on iRacing. So, yeah, pitting around the middle is going to be the best, and you will get an undercut, but then you need to conserve the tyres right at the end because you will have that drop-off towards the end. I reckon everyone will pit between lap 9 and lap 12, but we'll see. Safety car could change that. Fuel, I don't think will be too much of a factor, but we may see some drivers decide to take a splash of fuel at the pit stop as well. Just to be safe, and if you're in the draft, then you can certainly afford to fuel save around here with how powerful it is. 650 horsepower, 1.5 tons, locked rear differentials. These are Australian touring cars through and through, but we race in America for the final round of the championship. Gavin Cox will be the one everyone focuses on at the front of the field here in that first spot. 3, 2, and 1. That is the gridding time done. The revs rise, and Barney gets ready to wave the green flag here at Road America, and we are away. It's a pretty good start from the front of our field, but a bit of a sluggish start from Jonathan Bykoff. He couldn't quite get the power down. Gavin Cox, though, is going to filter in ahead of his teammates, and Aaron Gilbert is going to move ahead of the number 52 of Henry King into turn 1.
Great to see everyone's got away cleanly. And the MFR drivers at the front, they'll be looking to have their own little fight as well. And we've heard as well, I just got sent a message, there's been a lot of trash talking between Aaron and Henry. No team orders. They've been told race as if they're not in the same team. So this is going to be very interesting between them because Henry King, as we said, he has to win the race to have any chance of winning the championship. Mizomo, a huge move up the inside.
Yeah, that's huge there. He gets by Brett O'Keefe, or at least attempts to. O'Keefe holds the outside line very nicely, squeezes him towards the left-hand side, and will he be able to hold on to it here through this left-hander? Has to back out of it slightly, and Mizomo's done enough to move ahead into the right, coming through onto the Hurry Downs. And at the moment, it's looking pretty competitive for the top 4 between the MFR and HJR crews. Gavin Cox and Daniel Stevens first and second. It's Aaron Gilbert and Henry King third and fourth. But Simon Mizomo making up some great positions here on this first lap, up now to 5th position as he tries to hold off Brett O'Keefe and Darren Crosby. It's quite a tight battle for 9th place as well. Stephen Kennedy having to hold off Reese Harnell. Just behind them, Nathan Tregarthen and Jonathan Bykoff fighting over the scraps.
Great to see the battles continuing to be clean, and so that Gilbert was very, very close to Dan Stevens. Thought about making a move up the inside, but backed out of it early as Brett O'Keefe. Nice move in the end there. I thought he was going to shoot off straight into the dirt, but he pulled it up beautifully. Beat him in the dirt. Anthony Green in the background. He's gone a little bit too deep at Canada. Off in the grass. As Kennedy and Harnell continue their fight.
Yeah, it seemed nice and clean in terms of car damage. No one with big damage so far, but Reese Harnell, he's got quite the run here on Kennedy coming up the hill. The draft will help him. Kennedy, he was edging towards the middle of the road there as there's a brief look from Daniel Stevens up at the front versus Gavin Cox, but I think part of that is to keep the HJR boys behind. Harnell is ahead into turn 1, and Stephen Kennedy, well, he turned in, but he had to leave a bit of room. That's going to leave the door open potentially for Nathan Tregarthen as well. 4-car fights happening all throughout this field.
Great move from Harnell, and we're going to see that a fair bit, I would guess, in this race. Is O'Keefe now, after getting that move done at Canada, now got Mizomo looking to get it done at turn 5 again, but he's going to have to go the long way around. Battle at the front. Henry King, sorry, that's Aaron Gilbert making the huge dive. I thought that was King going through. Mizomo still side by side. But Gilbert looking to take second position away from Dan Stevens. Remember, it was only a couple of corners ago that Dan Stevens was looking for the lead.
Yeah, and they're going to keep running side by side here through the hurry downs. Great racing between these guys, giving each other room. And Aaron Gilbert's going to filter ahead, but with a little bit of a tap from behind by Daniel Stevens, locks up the rears. And I think Aaron Gilbert might have partially himself to blame for that. He moved onto the racing line, into the braking zone, and Stevens was already trying to slow down as much as he could. But Gilbert does keep the position there versus Daniel Stevens, who is the picture of cool, calm, and collected, despite the fact that they've just allowed Gavin Cox to get away to a nearly 2-second lead.
I don't think he'll be upset about letting his teammate go at the front, though. It's interesting too. O'Keefe and Mizomo didn't change position in the end there, but
Stevens.
Big late lunge.
Oversteer, and they make contact. Oh, they managed to hold on. Bit of a sigh of relief there from Daniel Stevens. Manages to hold on to it, but he is down to P4 now as King takes him round the outside in turn 13A.
That was a little bit messy there. And interesting in the background too that Brett O'Keefe lost 2 spots. Lost 1 to Mizomo and also lost 1 to Darren Crosby as well. So Crosby up into 6th now. As Gilbert is going to work really hard to try and close that gap into Gavin Cox if he wants to take the lead of the race. Remember, he doesn't have to. It's Henry King that needs to take the lead of the race. But King can't even quite get past his teammate at the moment.
Yeah, and remember, if King wins, Aaron Gilbert has to finish 8th or lower in order for King to take the title. So Henry has got one heck of an uphill battle at the moment as a bit of an off-track excursion there for Reese Harnell. He's going to come under pressure here from Jonathan Bykoff. Of course, turn 1 taking plenty of victims tonight, and the V8's no different. Bykoff is going to be forced into the long way around once again here at turn 5. They reach incredible speeds in these V8s, just touching 270 kilometers an hour at the end of this straight, but Bykoff leaves Harnell all the room in the world to sort out that position. Certainly with a good racer's brain on him. He has got real life experience after all.
Yeah, no point fighting too hard and squeezing the driver on the inside too tight through a corner that can end in tears, as we've already seen tonight. Go back up the front because Dan Stevens now applying the blowtorch to Henry King after losing those 2 spots. We both could tell, I could tell in your voice that you thought that move from Stevens was a bit ambitious. So we were both in agreement there. But the driving and the skill to make sure that he didn't end up in the fence was very, very good. So Dan Stevens did a great job there, but he's going to have to work really hard to get these spots back.
Yeah, I think most other drivers in that situation would have just gone screw it and committed to the move, but Daniel Stevens is a very hard but fair racer. He is able to just manage his aggression there, as that was a problem for Darren Crosby. Check out what happened, and it looks like it was contact with Brett O'Keefe here coming into Canada corner. O'Keefe was a bit late on the brakes there, and he just went straight on into the corner. Crosby well within his rights to turn in, otherwise he wouldn't have made the corner, but unfortunately O'Keefe was there.
You know, Crosby's lost the spot to Harnell and Bykoff too now as well, so I'm pretty sure he's got a bit of damage there in his car.
Tregarthen's going to get him as well, coming into turn 1. Oh, very close between them though, and Tregarthen had to back out. They bumped bumpers. And that's going to give Bike Off a little bit of breathing room and allow Anthony Green to make his way back up here. Of course, Green looking to make up positions himself. He's down 1 from where he started. And, wow, you see poor Nathan Tregarthen still having to deal with a bit of a lack of stability there. Darren Crosby, though, he's not going to find it in him to go for the move again at turn 5, but Tregarthen's going to try and make it easy for him here, I think, with a big lock-up on the outside. Crosby, though, gives him more than a car's width of room. It's good to see how... Yeah, very tough to pass. It was good to see how respectful everyone's being with the passing. I'd say, if anything, if I was a little bit more critical, I'd say they're giving a bit too much room.
Yeah, they're being a bit too nice, aren't they? A bit too friendly out there at this stage. But then again, they don't want to see anyone's racing in tears like we saw in the earlier race in the flat sixes. So it's great that they are giving each other room, but as you say, it is a little bit too much. But better to be too much than not enough. As the battle for second continues on. Gavin Cox is maintaining the gap at around the 3-second bracket. King did the fastest lap of the race on the previous lap. Dan Stevens doesn't look like he's able to stick with these guys at the moment. Mizomo starting to close in on them.
Yeah, I've been impressed with Simon Mizomo in this one. He's had much better luck so far than he did in the flat sixes race, and starting to drop to the back of these guys. But Gilbert and King, they're together in the draft, and King going for the move now on his teammate at turn 1. Aaron Gilbert is brave on the brakes. He's going to try and hold the outside here, get on the throttle as early as he can. Henry King, of course, having to compromise the exit, couldn't get on the throttle as fast as he wanted to. He's going to try and force the issue again, though, into turn 3. Will he be able to get it done? This is going to be a problem. They're side by side. They've compromised each other coming out of turn 3, and that's allowing Daniel Stevens to bring himself right back into the fold. Could he potentially get 2 for 1 down here at the end of the straight? No, says Aaron Gilbert. You are going to be forced to go into the middle, if anything, but not much space. Don't go to the middle, does Daniel Stevens. But, Aaron Gilbert, he had a bit of a lock-up. Henry King running wide, and this is going to allow Stevens through back into third, potentially. Will King be able to hold on around the outside of this left-hander? Yes. Get the inside for the right-hander? Yes. And keep the position.
There's 2 drivers that are loving seeing what they're seeing at the moment. One of them's Gavin Cox because he's able to break away even further, and the other's Mizomo because he's now in the fight too. Well and truly, he was about a second back, but he's well and truly there now. While we were watching that, Brett O'Keefe's had a huge moment at turn 1, and he is now out of the race, unfortunately.
Yeah, that's a big shame for him, and at the time he had just gotten a redress command from race control to give the position back to car 66 of Darren Crosby. Well, I don't think they have to worry about that anymore. Simon Mizomo pushing very hard through the kink and nearly getting into the wall for his troubles. I tell you what, that good bit of racing between Henry King and Daniel Stevens, not only did it allow Mizomo to catch up, but it's also allowed Aaron Gilbert to skip away to one heck of a gap. Here's what happened then to Brett O'Keefe in the Penske machine. Okay.
I don't think that's a mistake.
That is a hardware failure, it seems.
Yeah.
Wheel just jerking all the way to the left.
We've seen that one before, haven't we?
Plenty of times. Either way, that's going to be the end of his campaign. But the battles continue for third place here on screen. Henry King holds it. Daniel Stevens and Simon Mizomo now together at the back of this train as King has started to get the pace back without having Daniel Stevens to worry about at every corner. That's what the gap for the lead looks like. Gavin Cox in the lead by 3.5 seconds over Aaron Gilbert.
Not far off seeing drivers come into the pits, I would suspect. You would think that Henry King will probably have to be the first one in to try and undercut his teammate in Aaron Gilbert. Gavin Cox will be trying to make sure that he gets an absolutely perfectly nailed stop. He doesn't want to speed in the pit lane. Doesn't want to give up any time at all to Aaron Gilbert.
Indeed. Well, it's he's certainly in a good position to take it easy and make sure that he hits those marks perfectly. If you're leading by 3 seconds in an Australian touring car race, that's essentially the same as leading by half a lap in Formula One or something like that. It's something you can afford to play around with a little bit. But I still think pit stops a bit of a ways away. At least 3 laps to the tune of about 6 minutes worth of time. And the battling has calmed down somewhat after that opening flurry in the first 5 laps. Stevens and Mizomo, closest battle in the top 5. Darren Crosby, though, has managed to pass Reese Harnell for 8th place, I just saw on my timing screen. Looks like that happened down at Canada Corner.
Harnell has been struggling a little bit in the second half of this race, or in the second phase of this race, I should say.
And here's how it happened.
He's just going a little bit wide. That seems familiar. I've done that one.
So have I, and so did quite a few drivers in the Porsche race, but Reese Harnell managing to just catch a couple of millimetres of the grass on the outside of the corner, and when you're fully committed to braking, when all of that load is on the front tyres, and there's only one way it's going to go, as that is Nathan Tregarthen in the lane.
Did he get all that damage?
Yeah, that is decidedly sore-looking Holden Commodore there for Nathan Tregarthen. Okay, so this was... Oh yeah, I've just seen it myself. This is
going to be a wild time.
Oh boy. Alright, so he makes his way through the carousel. He was on his own on track, not battling with anyone, but maybe the mind wandered just a little bit. Or potentially, he didn't get the turn in for the kink right, because watch this. He goes off the circuit, the rear end kicks out. Oh, the wall saved him briefly there. But he's gone on a bit of a ricochet ping-pong ride down the back stretch.
You know what he did there? Hit too much of the inside curb. Unsettled the car a tiny little bit, and it put him onto the outside curb. Half a tyre on the grass, enough to put the car in the fence. So, unfortunate for him. It's season done. Nathan's been racing the entire season. Hasn't had the success that he would have liked, but great to see him come and join us for every single round throughout the season. Go back to this battle here. Mizomo's dropped off from Stevens, but Stevens maintaining the gap here with Canada King.
Yeah, everyone in the top 5 is doing a good job at maintaining their gaps at the moment. Aaron Gilbert has not caught up to Gavin Cox as he would have liked. He has taken half a second out of him since the last time we checked in. The gap's still at about 2.5 seconds, and it's only coming down slowly. Gavin Cox is doing a good job of managing this race from the front.
Definitely is doing that very, very well. Maintaining gap, as you said. They'll be starting to work out now and think about pit strategy and work out what they want to do pit stop wise. Tyres are starting to go away from them. They're about half a second off their personal best laps. And saying that, Dan Stevens just set his personal best lap, but Gavin Cox and Aaron Gilbert around half a second off their best laps. So tyre life wise, we're going to start to see that drop off come a little bit more in the favour of new tyres wanting to be on the cars.
Speaking of...
In the pits.
Yes, I was just about to mention. Noticed him coming into the lane, and of course we saw him have his issue earlier, catching the grass at Canada Corner and going for a big slide. That probably would have taken the last few inches of life out of his tyres, so he's decided to come in for a decidedly early pit stop, but if he can manage his tyres to the end, he should still be able to come away with a good finish here. So at the moment, it seems that Henry James Racing is in control of these last 2 spots on the podium. Daniel Stevens, he gave it a red-hot go, battling with Henry King just before, but now that they've settled into a rhythm in the race, he's thinking about tyre life. He's thinking about potentially engaging an earlier pit stop to try and leap one or both of these guys if things go perfectly right. As things stand at the moment, I think the best Daniel Stevens can hope for is third, because Aaron Gilbert is still streaking away, taking another few tenths out of Gavin Cox that last lap.
I think if Stevens wants to try and get ahead, he needs to pit on the next lap. One thing Dan Stevens is very good at is conserving tyres. Even with that attempted move he made earlier and lock up, still will be looking after the tyres quite well. And has brought the tyres back down again, the fastest lap of the race for Stevens on that lap there. So even though most drivers are seeing a huge drop-off in regards to tyre life, Dan Stevens is getting quicker as the race is progressing, which is unusual in the V8, and only the drivers that are very, very good in tyre conservation can do that.
Yeah, and I think running very wide lines like that is helping him to do that somewhat. Also, if we, from looking at his zoom onboards in the past, he's always very smooth with his steering inputs. King and Stevens are now showing up as a battle on the timing screen again. They're within a couple of seconds of each other, and Stevens continuing to just be the smooth operator on his big triple screen setup. Button box, direct drive wheel. Oh wow! Oh, I was just thinking about smoothness and oversteer at the exit of the carousel. I mean, that's a place where you certainly don't expect it.
Good bit of driving to hold on there.
Glad we caught that.
Good time to jump to the zoom camera there, wasn't it? Didn't think we were going to see that. And maybe that's a sign that he's decided his tyres are coming up to the end of their life in this phase, and he'll jump into the pits now. And the other thing that's interesting too is, remember the last time we looked, Gavin Cox had about a 3-second lead over Aaron Gilbert? Well, that's now 2.
Yes, continuing to come down.
And lap 9, here we go, Dan Stevens in.
There we go, as predicted. And up the hill he comes, uses the compression of the uphill grade to help to slow down his car down to 70 kilometers an hour here in the pit lane, which is a reasonably high speed limit for a pit lane, but considering how long it is and how quick the straights are here at Road America, you do end up losing a great deal of time taking a pit stop here.
Imagine how painful this pit lane would be with the length of it if you're only doing 40 or 50 k's an hour.
Ugh, I can't imagine.
I'm glad it's a 70 k per hour pit lane, because I can't think of a longer pit lane in iRacing than the pit lane here at Road America. Road Atlanta's pretty long, but not that long. Oh, big mistake from Aaron Gilbert.
Oh dear.
And a mistake from Henry King as well.
Oh, okay, so we're seeing that the tyres are now in substandard shape for the HJR boys, as well as Daniel Stevens is now out of the pit lane. 14.3 seconds the box time, and that's the quickest we've seen so far. Reese Harnell was stopped for pretty much 15 seconds flat on my timing at least, but Aaron, oh no, that is the 308 of Anthony Green, and...
Is that Canada?
It is, it is. It's a bit of a weird place to end up. Let's see what happens to him.
Straight ahead here.
Oh dear. On the brakes. Into the corner, caught the grass. He managed to avoid the inside wall, but head-on contact with the tyre barrier. That will not do wonders for his straight line speed.
How close was his front to this wall on the inside? He must have only just missed that.
Yeah, here we go. Loses grip and... Man. You think relief for a few instances of a second, but then you see the tyre wall rapidly approaching and you think, oh dear, things aren't that good. So, Aaron Gilbert versus Gavin Cox. Gilbert going for the lane. His tyres well and truly done with that mistake at turn 5. I'm wondering if that was just a lock-up or maybe the rear end going light. Perhaps not enough throttle on the downshift for Aaron Gilbert. Either way, we'll see how much the undercut is worth here for Daniel Stevens.
The big part of that is too, they've done that at the point where the undercut is going to play for Dan Stevens. So Dan Stevens gets the advantage of the fresh tyres, plus he gets the advantage of Gilbert and King both making a mistake at the same time on that same very, very crucial lap. So this is going to be very, very interesting. I wouldn't be surprised to see Dan Stevens jump ahead of Gilbert here. Gilbert's
Still
stopped.
stationary. And Stevens with a great turn of speed down the start-finish straight, over 250 Ks as Aaron Gilbert exits the pits. It's going to be close between these two, but I think Gilbert managing to hold on.
Yeah. Henry King now is going to be the critical one. Gavin Cox also made a mistake on that previous lap too, so we noticed that there was a mistake for Gilbert. We saw that. We saw the mistake for King, but later on in the lap, while we were watching the replay of Anthony Green, Cox also made a mistake. His last lap was a 2:11. He'd been doing 2:09, so he lost 2.5 seconds on that previous lap late on in the lap.
Ouch.
So, Gavin Cox losing all of that ground that he built up, and then the advantage of the mistake from behind. So as we hit the halfway point, tyres definitely starting to play a big factor.
They are indeed. How long can Gavin Cox last here out in the lead? It's back down to around 2 seconds between he and Henry King, and that's roughly the gap that Cox had to Aaron Gilbert. So if anything, he might be in trouble for the lead here, Gavin. We'll have to wait and see as they come out of the final corner. Does Gavin Cox go for the lane? He does. Does Henry King go for the lane? He does not.
Yeah, Henry King's got to do something different. He's got no choice now. With Gilbert coming in, Cox coming in, Stevens coming in, Henry King had no choice but to do something different. Don't necessarily see the overcut, or sorry, the late pit stop work. But we'll see if it does play into his hands. Now, the difference in pit stop time is really the difference between Gilbert and Stevens. Gilbert around about a second quicker pit stop. As Kennedy comes in. No relation.
Yes, though your brother has jumped into a few sim races in the last few months, has he not?
Definitely has. We've seen him in the Pro Truck Showdown. Not too successful.
Hopefully we'll be able to get Pro Truck Showdown back on SimSpeed TV, as that is Gavin Cox losing out to Aaron Gilbert and almost losing out to his teammate as well. That shows you what 2 laps worth of undercut can do for a driver like Gavin Cox, when his rivals have got the undercut, of course. So that's basically the lead lost, I think, at this stage. Henry King is going to come in, but he's likely, with the lack of pace on these worn tyres, it's likely he's going to come out at least behind Aaron Gilbert, maybe behind Cox and Stevens as well.
I'm going to say Henry King will push this out to maybe lap 16 or 17. Try and have that real fresh tyre just as Gilbert, Cox, Stevens, their tyres reach that point of drop-off. That is, of course, if he can keep it out of the wall with how much tyre he's got left.
Oh my lord! I mean, I've been commentating on V8 racing on iRacing for 6-7 years now, and it's always so stressful watching these drivers go around. I know how difficult these cars are to drive at the best of times. I cannot imagine what it's like on these worn tyres. So has Henry King finally had enough, or is he going to continue stretching out this gap? He is not. He is going to jump on into the pits, get that fresh rubber. The fight is over.
Mizomo in as well. Just noticed Dan Stevens had a little bit of a moment through the kink.
Let's
We'll be able
take
to
a
see
look
it
at it.
on this here. At the exit here.
Yeah,
That's
big
a little wide.
understeer.
That's a little wide. That's a little wide. Hold on. And he just did exactly what Cam Dance did earlier. Kept the throttle on, but somehow managed to not put it in the wall. I know I would have put it in the wall, but you have seen me drive, so you aren't surprised by that statement.
You've seen me drive, so yeah, but not in these cars. As Henry King finally takes his pit stop, Aaron Gilbert going to filter through, Gavin Cox going to filter through, and so is Daniel Stevens. So Henry King losing a great deal of time there, but Simon Mizomo will hold on to an effective top 5 there as the number 66 of Darren Crosby also in the lane. And the last car remaining to pit is Jonathan Bykoff, now currently in the lead. Oh, but for how long with lockups like that into turn 5? His tyres will be well and truly past their operating lifespan at this point.
Now remember, these guys pitted on lap 9, 10, and then Henry King on 11. That means that they've got to do, Gilbert on 11. That means they've got to do more than half the race on this second set of tyres. So they've got to be a little bit more conservative on this, in this phase. But the other side of that is they've got to be more aggressive in this phase because they've really got to push for these positions. So they're in a real catch-22 situation here, aren't they? They've got to push, but they've got to conserve at exactly the same time.
And the ball is in Henry King's court because he's just come out on this fresh set of tyres, and you see how much he's already rounding up Daniel Stevens, who's currently on the 4th lap of this stint. Have a look at how much more momentum he's able to carry through the exit of the Carousel. Into the kink, Daniel Stevens, he's been struggling with understeer through there, and he goes off again. Oh, he still holds on to it, but that's going to give the chance that Henry King needs, and the number 52 alongside into Canada corner, just ahead of Stevens when they get to the braking zone, stays ahead when they get to the turn-in point, but Stevens holding on round the outside, uses all the curb to his advantage. What a great exit that was.
Absolutely brilliant driving there from Dan Stevens to hold on to that position. There was no way he deserved to hold on to that just based on the mistake, but to hold it around the outside through Canada corner when the driver that's trying to overtake you has better tyre life and more momentum, that's a brilliant bit of driving from Dan Stevens. The sad part of it is it may not last too long because now there's still 4 laps difference in tyre life. Henry King's tyres are now up to best optimal pressure.
This is where he can really start to attack. And down at turn 5 might be where the move is made. Look at how much he rounds him up in the braking zone for turn 3. On board with Daniel Stevens, short shift into 3rd place on the exit of the corner, but it's too little too late. Henry King has a good run here down the straight. He'll be getting a little bit of slipstream from the side of Daniel Stevens' car, but he's on the outside into turn 5. Will he be able to get the power down? He lets Stevens go ahead a bit here and use the tighter line over-under for Henry King. Now it's going to be the inside for the next left-hander. Will he squeeze up the inside? Yes, he will. Stevens make it difficult for him? Certainly. They're going to remain side by side, and you see what a great view that is. Daniel Stevens unfortunately did have to compromise his line and let Henry King go, but it's awesome to see just how much the drivers are actually able to see in their cockpits.
And while they've been fighting, Gavin Cox has gone from just on a second ahead of Dan Stevens to now 2.5 seconds ahead of Henry King. So just the little bit of side-by-side for a couple of corners has resulted in a huge swing in time gained for Gavin Cox. Jonathan Bykoff's still leading the race, but Aaron Gilbert's starting to close in that gap pretty quickly. Wouldn't be surprised to see Bykoff in this lap.
We'll keep our eyes on him then in the Bykoff Racing Ford Falcon. And very easy to see whether or not drivers will go for the lane at Road America. It's just such a big difference in line, but Bykoff is holding on here, now coming around to start the 15th lap of his stint on these tyres. It's any wonder he's not going off at every corner, considering what we're seeing from other drivers on worn tyres.
100%. Seen a few drivers start to really struggle with tyre life, but in saying that, Bykoff's pace is not that bad, even with those old tyres. He's only about 7/10 off his best lap, so he's doing pretty well at the moment. Mizomo up a spot into 6th. He is pretty much all but guaranteed 3rd position in the championship, which he's very, very happy about as well. So congratulations to Mez on a very, very good, consistent season. Now that we've passed the halfway point, as we get to 2/3 race distance, he will hold on to that 3rd position in the championship over Gavin Cox and Dan Stevens.
I've been quite impressed with Simon Mizomo, not just in this series, but in general in 2021. He's come in leaps and bounds. Oh dear, Reese Harnell stopped at an access point, so I don't think we'll see a safety car from this. He's well off
up
the...
by this point.
Oh, it was the engine.
He's given up. I mean, it's turn 8, and he's decided to put it behind the wall, so... I've got a feeling he's blown the engine. Downshifting here. Here we go.
Okay. So there's two ways that the engine can blow in these Australian touring cars. On the downshift if you run the revs too high, or you can always do that. Oh, okay. Yeah, that's why.
That's enough to break your car.
Yeah, that kind of contact was such an acute angle, the concrete jutting out like it did. Not only would that have blown the engine, it would have done a number on the front suspension as well. So Reese Harnell now in the lane, and Jonathan Bykoff really struggling, and he's put up the white flag and said, no, I'm done. These tyres have no more to give.
Did you get the feeling there that Bykoff was considering going for another lap and then realised how close Gilbert and Cox were behind him and go, nah, actually, I think I might hit?
Potentially. Either way, he's not going to be an issue for them now. It is Gilbert from Cox, from King, from Stevens, from Mizomo, your top 5. And Bykoff, considering how long he's been out there with the lack of pace on the worn tyres, he's probably going to come out towards the lower reaches of the top 10. And having said that, the top 10 is pretty much the whole field at the moment.
Henry King closing the gap down on Gavin Cox quite quickly. Stevens has definitely dropped off. His tyre life is gone. He was trying to hold on too much. But King just set the second fastest lap of the race.
Very good time there from Henry King, 207.85. By comparison, his teammate Aaron Gilbert holds the fastest lap of the race overall, 207.717 for him. So King can still work with the pace that his championship leader and, at this point, champion-elect teammate can.
And have a look at the difference in pace from Henry King to Aaron Gilbert on the previous lap. So,
wow.
1.25 seconds pretty much Henry King took out of Aaron Gilbert. I mean, Gilbert probably was a little concerned about Bykoff, what he was going to do, but even still, it's a huge advantage in the favour of Henry King. He's taking more time out this lap as well. This could be another fastest lap of the race here.
Certainly got no reason not to push at this stage. We're coming into 13 and 13A, then turn 14. Last corner here. Very challenging corner, but so satisfying when you get it right. And Henry can afford to put a bit of opposite lock on at the exit of the turns. He can maintain the momentum, stay in the draft of Daniel Stevens. Will he have enough of an overspeed advantage to go for a move at turn 1? At this point, I doubt it. He is going to come up to the rear bumper potentially of Daniel Stevens by the time they get to turn 3 though.
And look at the gap again for Aaron Gilbert. Another 1.25 seconds, 1.3, 1.4 seconds advantage Henry King over Aaron Gilbert, so that the fresh tyres now really starting to play into their own. It's Gilbert, Cox, Stevens, Mizomo, all of those guys at the front all start to struggle with tyre life. Henry King not worried about tyre life because he's got the best of the field.
Have a look at that, the way he rounds up Daniel Stevens around the outside into turn 5. Stevens is going to hold on to it. A big correction there from Henry King, and barely any space between them as they turn in. Oh, Stevens got a bit loose over the crest, and King is going to get the better exit there and through as they come up to the hurry downs.
Nice move from Henry.
Indeed. Second place then for Henry, but Gavin Cox coming back at him up the inside. They give each other a good amount of room though. Very nice, respectful racing in the V8 series, but Henry King has the advantage, has the tyre life, and it's back to Henry James Racing 1-2, as has been the case for the majority of this season.
Yep. Been far too good in this championship. Have Gilbert and King, and the amount of races that they finished 1-2. It's been incredible. Shows in the championship points. 5.5 odd laps to go, 5.25 laps to go. Gavin Cox, I don't think, has got enough to come back at Henry King. Can Henry take out 3.1 seconds to the race leader? Based on the pace we've seen over the last few laps, you'd have to say definite yes.
Yes, but about the time we get to 3 laps to go, that's probably going to be the point where King's tyres will certainly drop off. I tell you what, Gavin Cox, he is not letting this go. Back in the draft of Henry King, looking to try and ruin the party here for Henry James Racing. Up the inside into turn 1, and King says, all right, mate, you can have it. I'll just try and come back at you on the exit here, but I'm not going to have much success at that, am I? Bit of an oversteer moment, and a bit earlier on the brakes was Gavin Cox. Henry King just avoided getting into the rear bumper of the 555.
When King got on the brakes, you could hear the compression, and I was thinking for a second there that Henry King was going to lock the car and shoot straight into the back of Gavin Cox, but he did a great job of making sure that he didn't lose control of the car on the brakes. Dan Stevens is coming back at these guys too. The pace in this race has increased. Gilbert, fastest car on track last lap, then Stevens and Mizomo. No surprise to see that these two, that they're in this battle here, were the slowest out of the top 5, considering how much they were fighting on that previous lap.
No surprise. And King not getting any opportunities to get back by Gavin Cox here around this middle part of the lap. How's he going to go through the carousel? Better tyre life, of course, so he should be able to maintain a bit more pace through here, through the mid-corner, but they want to back off a bit and reserve some extra rubber to use towards the end of the race. And the draft here coming out of the King will certainly be to his advantage. Can Gavin Cox nail it? It looks like he can, reasonably enough. The King in the slipstream. Doesn't look like he's going to be close enough coming into Canada Corner. It's going to be a case of trying to nail these last few corners of the lap and go for another move into turn 1.
Aaron Gilbert will be hearing how much of a fight that Henry King is in, and he will be loving every second of it. We've already been told that there's been a lot of talking between King and Gilbert before the race, and Aaron was a little bit concerned about the potential of this race getting a little bit heated, but doesn't have to worry about it at the moment as King up the inside, move back done. Gavin Cox is going to try and do exactly the same thing back, not quite close enough.
He is still within draft range coming into turn 5, though. We'll see if he holds on to it. But for King, this is crucial if he still wants to have a go at winning this championship. Still 4 laps to go. And if something happens to Aaron Gilbert, then King is now in prime position to take the title.
And we've seen that these engines can pop. They can go kaboom. If Aaron Gilbert was to pop an engine and Henry King wins the race, King would steal the championship. Would that be playing in the back of Gilbert's mind? Would he be thinking about making sure that he perfected every single downshift?
I think so. I certainly think so. Being able to preserve your car to the end, of course, is one of the big aspects of being a complete racing driver. Another part of it is being able to continue to attack and harass and make life difficult for your rival when they clearly have the advantage, and that's what Gavin Cox here has been doing for Henry King. I mean, did you see that move up the inside? He's still not done with second place.
He still wants to get back through, doesn't he? I mean, you'd think, looking at the pit stop, I suppose these two probably the closest, because remember Gavin Cox pitted a lap earlier than King. It was Stevens, then Gilbert, Cox, King, in that order of when everyone pitted. There's 4 laps difference between Stevens and King, but only 1 lap difference between Cox and King in tyre life. So not a huge difference between them. So Gavin Cox probably still has just as much left in the tyre as Henry King does. Henry King starting to get a little bit defensive here on the front straight as we've got 3 to go.
right then. Gavin Cox will stick in the draft, at least for the most part. King's got to filter back over to the left-hand side to widen the entry to turn 1. He's managed to do enough there to keep Gavin Cox behind him, and potentially for some time yet if he can nail the exit out of turn 3 here as well. It's been an intriguing race between MFR and HJR. Certainly HJR having the outright pace advantage, but MFR generally a bit better at conserving their tyres, and this battle for second, well and truly proof of that, as Cox has another look at Henry King, just trying to psych him out here, and partially succeeded that time. A slight lock-up for Henry King as he turned in.
We still have 9 of our starters out on track. Anthony Green, the only driver one lap down. Of course, he had some issues earlier that he's had to get some damage fixed in the car. No surprise to see Parnell, Tregarthen and O'Keefe out after their issues. Surprised Tregarthen was able to bring that car back to the pits earlier. That was an incredible incident after the kink. It shows how easy this track can bite just from that tiny little curve on the inside of the kink. How much damage taking that maybe a couple of centimetres too much can cause.
Way more than a few centimetres there for Daniel Stevens. That seems to be one of his favourite places around this track at the moment, is the grass on the exit of the kink. Yeah.
He has been out there quite a bit, hasn't he, Dan Stevens? But he's done a very good job keeping control, which is something not a lot of drivers can do. We saw in the flat sixes that Cameron Dance was able to do that, but not many drivers can maintain control in the grass through the kink. It's not the easiest thing to do because you're trying to get the power down, and in these cars which don't like you putting the power down as it is anyway, he did a very good job.
Well, lap 21 then. It will be white flag next time by, and Gavin Cox still a thorn in Henry King's side at the moment. The pace, I think, has been taken out of the HJR number 52. And a slightly compromised exit from turn 3 as well. Going to give Cox yet another chance on the run down to turn 5. Under the bridge, through the sweepers. Does he have enough to go for it? Yeah, he's going to have a go. Coming up the inside. King sees him coming and leaves him the room on the inside, but on the power, he hasn't quite been able to get the traction he needs to keep Cox behind. And fortunately for King, as we've seen plenty of times before tonight, if you have the outside coming out of that left-hander, this right is pretty much a piece of cake.
Only corner on the track that may be a piece of cake, other than turn 2 and turn 4.
Yeah.
And in saying that, that was a really interesting entry to the carousel there from Henry King, and usually results in drivers going wide, but he's done a really good job to narrow that up. And have a look at, while King and Cox have been battling, have a look at who's just slowly sneaking his way back into this fight. Dan Stevens somehow has found himself in the battle for the podium once again.
Yeah, this has been good here for Daniel Stevens. I think he just took a bit of time to back off and look after his tyres, make sure he had some to use towards the end, and that's how it's working out here. Under 8 tenths now separating the battle for second place. But up the front for Aaron Gilbert, he is going to be taking the white flag, and barring any other difficulties for him, this is going to be a nice cruise to a well-deserved championship title. Only 6.44 kilometres to go now for the number 03, but it's still going to be on for second place. Gavin Cox has dropped off Henry King massively in those last couple of corners, and Daniel Stevens on the back of his teammate now for the podium.
This is turning into a bit more of an interesting fight than we thought it would be back here. Thought that Stevens was well and truly out of this fight, but he's come back into it, and again, like we saw in that first stint of the race, Dan Stevens is setting his fastest laps on this tyre set towards the end of the run as he almost runs into the back of his teammate there.
Yeah, slightly later on the brakes, had to take avoiding action. Thank goodness for that strip of tarmac on the outside into the corner. Still plenty in this lap to go. Plenty of time for Gavin Cox to make a mistake and bring his teammate alongside him. That's how the gap looks at the moment. Aaron Gilbert by 3.1 seconds over Henry King. And it looks to me like Gavin Cox starting to come back at King a bit here into the carousel, but given King's better tyres, I would question whether or not Cox is going to be able to get by him. Through the kink for the final time then for the 03, and he stays well away from the outside curb. He knows that he's got a good gap to work with. He doesn't need to push the car at all. Into Canada corner, keeping the downshifts nice and controlled, not letting the engine rev too high and pop the motor. It's been a brilliant season for Aaron Gilbert. A tense fight all season long with his teammate Henry King, but he was in the best position to win the championship coming into this round, and he is going to cap it off with a lovely victory here. The checkered flag waves, and Aaron Gilbert is your RacingSims.co.nz V8's champion.
Congratulations, Aaron Gilbert. Great job. Congratulations to Henry King, P2 in the championship. Gavin Cox, Dan Stevens, great job from those guys to finish in 3rd and 4th, and Simon Mizomo crosses the line in 5th. Interesting, Anthony Green, he had issues with his car, and cleverly brought it into the pit lane, sat and waited for Gilbert to cross the finish line, then crossed it himself. So that's the way to do it when you got issues. Just sit there and wait for the leader to come by so that you still get points. Kennedy finishes in 6th, with Crosby, he'll cross in 7th, and Jonathan Bykoff will be the final car to take the checkered flag. But what a season it's been for Aaron Gilbert. Absolutely deserving of the championship. Been dominant the whole way through. And when you look back on the results, you'll sort of question why he didn't win by more.
And it's the perfect result as well for HJR tonight. A 1-2. They can fly in formation down here to the tarmac at turn 5. The MFR teammates of Gavin Cox and Daniel Stevens pass by them for their cruise back to the pit lane, but these donuts are going to taste especially sweet for Aaron Gilbert.
Definitely are. He's well and truly deserving of this championship win, and should enjoy this as well, as there's a little bit of a bump there that he just found. There it is.
Oh, yeah.
He decided to get away from that so he didn't damage the car, so he can do some more donuts. One thing he'll be very, very happy about is that he's got enough fuel left in the car to still be able to do burnouts too.
Yeah, exactly, and ride the brakes, go on a bit of a leaving black trails down the tarmac. I mean, what can you really say about this championship performance that hasn't already been said? Dominant the whole way through, and very well deserved. And I'm actually noticing that Daniel Stevens is pushing Gavin Cox around the circuit. I think the 555 might have run out of fuel.
I'm going to say by this onboard here that's almost a definite.
Well, there we go. One final push to the line.
I think Gilbert's out of fuel too.
Well, he managed to get his requisite burnouts in before he did. So there we go. Your final results of the year for the RacingSims.co.nz V8SCOPS support series in the V8s category. 2.8 seconds Aaron Gilbert took it by from Henry King, and he takes the title as a result. Gavin Cox and Daniel Stevens 3rd and 4th. Couldn't quite capitalise on that front row start, but still an excellent result for them. Simon Mizomo in his final appearance for Fitzstye Motorsports takes a top 5, and he will certainly be happy with that. Stephen Kennedy finishing 6th. He is going to lose that championship fight with Daniel Stevens, who took P4, but coming away with a top 10. He'll certainly be happy with that. Darren Crosby, Jonathan Bykoff, the last cars to finish on the lead lap. Then Anthony Green. It wasn't quite a successful night for him, though he did take the checkered flag. Reese Harnell, the first of our retirements. Nathan Tregarthen and Brett O'Keefe would join him.
What a night of racing we've had. I clicked the wrong button. That's always good. Yeah, that's better. What a night of racing we've had here. Aaron Gilbert, absolutely deserving of the championship. Come in and join us for a chat in a second. And Henry King was the best of the rest the whole way through the season as well. So those two definitely deserving of championship 1-2. They did a fantastic job the whole way throughout the season as well.
They did indeed. We've got driver interviews coming in here, and Aaron Gilbert just jumping into the interview box now, and we'll take him instantly into the comms box. Welcome, Aaron Gilbert. Congratulations. You are the champion of V8SCOPS Support V8s. How does it feel?
Massive relief. I'm pumped that I ended up winning that race at the end there too. But congrats to the MRF guys. They had an amazing battle with them at the start. But I had a pretty good fuel strategy, I think. Or the pit stop was excellent, so got me there in the end.
Yeah, I noticed that, obviously the undercut would have been very important here at Road America. How did that factor into how you approached the strategy? Were you monitoring what the MFR guys were doing?
Yeah, me and Henry were in channel discussing strategy through the race, and we seen he went in, and he said, "Oh, well, you're the lead car. You can choose to pick when you go in." So I decided to cover him off and come out luckily in front of him there, which in the end was huge. But pace-wise, good.
So, all up with the performance you've had throughout the season, obviously lifts your spirits greatly, taking this top honour for Henry James Racing. What's next year looking like for you? Have you thought ahead to that, or are you just going to enjoy your success now while you can?
Probably going to enjoy the success now, and then we'll see what next year unfolds. But I think I'll be back to race these again in the supports. So it was really good racing with the good guys through the whole year. Good competition up and down the field. So it's really good.
That it is. Well, before we let you go, Aaron, anyone you'd like to thank for your championship victory tonight?
I'll thank Jinx Shifters, our main sponsor there. Bra2 Racing Sims, they sponsored the series, and we've got them on our cars as well. Fifth Gear Motoring and GTI as well. So, and Venture IP. We'll put them in there too.
Aaron Gilbert there, P1 on the track, P1 in the championship standings. A great performance indeed. Next up, we've got his teammate, Henry King, with a great second place finish. Henry, the way you approached the strategy tonight, you ended up pitting later than everyone else to have that advantage on the fresh tyres at the end. Seemed to be the best course of action for you tonight.
Definitely the fresh tyres, although one lap fresher than Gavin at the end, helped in that run to the flag immensely.
Yeah, so, Road America, looking at it from the air with the amount of straights this place has, you'd think that it's not too hard on tyres, but these cars, the way they put the power down, you really have to look after them.
100% with the locked rear end, particularly the kink in the midsection, or both of them. You've got to unload the car to get it to turn, and as soon as you start on that, you just chew through the rear end grip.
Well, it's second place on the track and second place in the championship, but nonetheless, a 1-2 to cap off the season for your team. It's been a very good year for HJR.
100%. I did want to have both cars of 52 win the two seasons, but I said it before the kicked off to Aaron that he's the biggest threat, and he didn't believe me, but he believes me now.
So, is that a hint for next season? Are you going to have a proper tilt at a title if V8s returns on the support bill?
V8s are likely to return, and I do want to push him for the title next year, although I know there's a couple of challenges hot on our heels that want to take it as well.
Well, we'll see what happens then. Who would you like to thank for your podium today, Henry?
I've got to thank Simon from Jinx Shifters, Aaron for the setup work. Having a teammate that can push you throughout the whole season is probably the biggest thing for me. I've got to thank both the MFR guys, Gavin and Dan. The battles all year have been mega. I've got to thank you guys, of course, in the broadcast. We don't look as good if you guys don't make us look this good. And everyone at HJR behind the scenes, the race control from OSR, looking forward to next year already.
As are we. That's Henry King, V8SCOPS administrator, handler of the V8SCOPS support series, and second place in the V8s. Final driver interview of the night. We were unlikely to get the chance to talk to Gavin Cox, but we do have Simon Mizomo in here with us, taking a top 5 in his final appearance for TechSense Fitstein Motorsports. It's the end of an era, Simon, but you capped it off pretty well.
Yep, happy with that. The goal at the start of the night was finishing top 3 in the championship. That was the big thing, and I had a fairly big points gap back to Gavin, but still was like wanted to make sure that we put a full stop on it and got the job done. And yeah, big thanks to Cam, spotted me once again for this one and kept me in it, actually kept me in the fight. I was surprised to actually be in there to actually battle for top 3, a podium. And yeah, it was just thanks to Cam, just keeping my ear, keeping me going, and yeah, it was an awesome way to end it.
You've been one of the most outspoken of our drivers when it's come to praising these cars used for the V8SCOPS supports, and I suppose from your perspective, you know, how does it feel to race one of these cars, being able to push a bit harder than you can in the more modern ones?
I was actually just speaking about that with Aaron. It's just like they're night and day. The newer ZB and Mustang to these things. Like these things, you can throw them around. They feel like they have a lot more rear grip. They feel a lot more stable. They feel better under brakes. So yeah, I just feel 10 times more confident in these things, knowing what they're going to do. Whereas if you go race the newer ones, it just it feels a bit all over the place. The braking doesn't feel as nice. The rear doesn't feel as stable, especially like on power transitions. It just doesn't seem to want to sit. This thing does it nicely, especially some of like Canada corner. You can just slide it off the corner, get on the throttle, and it just goes. It doesn't really make you feel like it's going to go anywhere. So yeah, just I wish there was a bit of this car in the new ones. I reckon Scops already has amazing racing, we know that, but I reckon if the cars were a little bit more like what these are, with a little bit more grip, a little bit more stable, I reckon Scops would be 10 times better than what it is at the moment.
Well, being as happy as you are with these cars, you're obviously looking forward to 2022 in some capacity, but with a new team.
Yep, we'll be in the new team colours, but we'll definitely be back. Hopefully we'll try and go a few steps up. We got 3rd this time, so we've got to go a bit further up. So yeah, no, definitely going to be back. I'll try and drag a few of the new guys with me as well. Try and get a few more cars out here because yeah, as we saw all series, the racing's phenomenal. There's tremendous respect throughout the field. All the drivers are amazing to race against. Always clean. So I think we need to get a few more like-minded drivers out there and really show what this support series can do.
Agreed on that. Well, to cap things off, Simon, it's your final race for your old team. One final time. Who gets it done for you at Fitstein Motorsport?
Just a big shout out to all the boys for the past 3 years. I was thinking about it before, but 3 years I've been with the team, so big shout out to them. Thanks for an amazing time together. No doubt I'll still be hanging around them anyway, but big thanks to our sponsors, TechSense, Red & Demon Tweaks, all the help that they bring to the team, and big thanks to Cam this season as well, just with the support, just helping out, spotting and everything else. So yeah, can't thank the guys enough. It's been an amazing journey with them, and yeah, look forward to see what I can do with the new team in the future.
As are we. Simon Mizomo, 5th place tonight here in the V8s at Road America. And Gavin Cox has jumped in. Sorry for the surprise there, Gavin, but we are in the interview booth now. Congratulations on 3rd place and on pole position as well. Did you expect that?
Yeah, thanks, Reese. Yeah, we have been working fairly hard after the last round. We sort of wanted to try and give Henry and Aaron a bit more of a run, so we've been working hard on setups, and yeah, we were pretty confident.
And certainly attempting the undercut, probably the best way to do it. Your teammate Daniel Stevens was the first out of the top 5 to really come in and make an attempt at it. Were you thinking of doing the same thing?
Yeah, I was sort of watching what everyone else was doing, and I saw Aaron pit a bit early because he had a bit of a lose there in one corner, and I thought had a fair gap, and I thought I'll just try and push a bit longer, and so I can have fresher tyres in the second stint. But yeah, not sure where it all went wrong there. I lost a bit of time somewhere in the pit stop and come out behind a couple of guys.
Well, you still managed to hold on for third, and you definitely gave Henry King a run for his money, even on your more worn tyres.
Yeah, it was pushing hard there. We had a good battle with Henry at the end there. It was very exciting, and had a great fun.
We had great fun watching it. And in terms of the final standings, well, with Simon Mizomo grabbing a top 5, he secured third in the championship. But you and Daniel Stevens can certainly be happy with 4th and 5th. It's been a pretty good season for Middle Finger Racing.
Yes, it has, yeah. Look, probably could have been a bit further up if I hadn't gone on holidays and missed one round, but and the breaks. But we'll be back next year, Middle Finger, with Dan and myself, and we're happy going to push Aaron and Henry all the way.
That's what we like to hear. Before we let you go, Gavin, anyone you'd like to thank from your stable?
Oh, gosh, of course, Middle Finger Racing for always supporting me, and Dan for doing all the great skins for the cars. And he did an epic setup just afternoon on this car, and it just drove unbelievably. So big thanks to those guys.
Well, thanks very much for joining us. Gavin Cox, 3rd place on track here at Road America. Well, Jay, we got to bring the curtain down now on the V8SCOPS Support Series season, but the fun doesn't stop at Road America. We've still got the final round of V8SCOPS to come on Sunday.
Yep, the main event is upcoming, and championship fight between 4 cars. Means that we're going to have a very, very interesting race coming up, and have that here all on Sunday night. It's going to be a really interesting end of the season.
Absolutely will. Well, coming away with top honours tonight, it was Riley Preston and Aaron Gilbert in the races. Thomas Hinz, once again, your Flat Sixes champion, and Aaron Gilbert, champion of the V8s. It's been an excellent season of the RacingSims.co.nz V8SCOPS Support Series, and we do thank Racing Sims for their support of this series. Wouldn't have been able to get it done without yous. And also to the team at Oceanic Sim Racing, Henry King, and of course Brett Loxton and Ben Christensen helping out in race control all through the year. It's been a magnificent season. Can't wait to see what 2022 can bring. But for now, I'm Reese Gardner. It's Jay Kennedy alongside me in the comms box and on cameras, making everything happen behind the scenes. Here at SimSpeed TV, we say thank you for watching, and we'll see you on Sunday for the final curtain call for the Virtual Racing School V8SCOPS.
This is fantastic. This is GT racing right now.
He's got traction, he's got rhythm, both of them! Maloney! Oh, he's taking Anderson! Anderson's up top! Oh my god! Oh! Big crash! Oh my goodness, half the field's gonna get rolled!
Six very close. These guys are want to make their way through the field very quickly. Oh, here we go! Oh no! That's massive! This is it! This is over! I can't believe this! Oh my god!
God, what?